What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. We're back.
Yeah, we are back around the track with the riders. Yes,
Um,
2025 season.
yes, we are back for the 2025 season. I wish my headphones quit doing that. They keep making a goofy notification sound. Anyways, we are back. 2025 season is upon us. The Clash is next week.
It is next week. Practice is on Saturday. The Clash is on Sunday. The heat races are also on Sunday, so looking forward to it. Bowman Gray Stadium. First time in many years that these teams have raced. That NASCAR has raced at this stadium, so I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. I've gotten a lot of stories about Bowman Gray. I've done a lot of research on Bowman Gray because I was like, why? That seems like a really important track. So I did my research, and it seems like a good little track. So I'm excited to see how the Clash works out. But anyways, we're back. 2025 season. This is our preseason preview and predictions, just like we did when we first started out the podcast. So yeah.
And we got a lot to cover this show because there was a lot of stuff we did not do in off-season podcast since the end of the year. A lot of stuff has happened, so yeah, we got a lot to cover.
Yeah, we definitely do.
All right, so we'll just jump right in, and we'll jump right in with the top story of, I would say, 2024 and the 2024-2025 off season is the charter agreement, the charter situation, and the lawsuit that NASCAR has had versus 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. So, just a real quick rundown. These are the things that the teams were asking for, and the final agreement that the NASCAR and the teams signed, and part of the reason why the lawsuit is going on, or actually the whole reason why the lawsuit is going on. So the first thing, the teams are going to get about $5 million, but they were asking for $8.5 to $10 million. So NASCAR is giving them about half of what they were asking for. And the reason they were asking for so much is because it takes roughly $18 million per team, per car for a Cup Series team to run the full season. The race teams have all said that they're losing money, so they were asking for more. But NASCAR just settled on the $5 million. The other thing that the teams wanted the charter system to be permanent. NASCAR wants them to go along with each television contract. So they just signed a 7-year television contract. That's what they wanted the charter agreement to be. That's what they got with the team signing. But the teams want it to be permanent. That is also part of what 2311 and Front Row Motorsports is asking for in the lawsuit. Let's see here. We got a lot. NASCAR wants to be able to field a team. For example, if a fourth manufacturer comes in and none of the current teams want to switch their manufacturers, NASCAR wants to be able to allow that manufacturer to run with a NASCAR-owned team. Teams don't believe that's a good idea because, race manipulation and all different kinds of things that could come down, that could happen. NASCAR obviously doesn't want their team. If NASCAR, the owners of NASCAR, the France family, fielded the team, they would not want that team to run 25th every week, right? I mean, that would just not be a good. So, kind of a conflict of interest is what the teams are pulling for on that. They think it's just a bad idea. Of course, the whole media content thing is a big things, differences over the intellectual property rights of the media content. NASCAR just built a huge media facility in Charlotte, North Carolina that we'll talk a little bit more about when we start talking about where to watch NASCAR in 2025 and how all that fits in. NASCAR also put an anti disparagement clause in the charter agreement, which meant that teams and drivers could not speak out in the media against NASCAR, which the teams are arguing infringes on their First Amendment rights of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, which I agree on that, because teams have been critical in the past, drivers have been critical in the past. NASCAR has fined teams and drivers for being critical in the past. You know, some criticism warranted, some criticism unwarranted. Remember the Phantom cautions back in the early 2010s. They would throw they would throw a yellow flag with 15, 20 laps to go, claim debris on the racetrack. Cameras or television couldn't find any debris. It was just NASCAR throwing what we could call a fun flag, to bunch the field back up. But and teams would speak out about that. The tire debacle in 2008 at Indianapolis, teams would speak out against that. I mean, NASCAR, they want their cake. They want to have their cake and eat it too, is basically what this is asking for. They want to rule with an iron fist and teams not be allowed to speak out, which, again, teams are claiming, the teams that are suing are claiming, that's an infringement on their First Amendment rights. And then NASCAR also put in a part of the charter agreement where teams could not sue NASCAR. Which obviously the two teams that didn't sign are able to sue. Which again is a whole conflict of interest, in my opinion, thing. But anyway, those are the major things that teams were asking for, that the teams in NASCAR were fighting about. All the other things that go on with the charter agreement didn't seem to be a big issue. We did find out later in the offseason that teams were only going to be allowed to have 3 charter teams. Maximum, with the exception of Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing, because they already had 4 teams. They were the only 2 teams that had 4 teams, so they were grandfathered in. How that's going to look in the future, I do not know. And this could be why NASCAR doesn't want a permanent charter agreement, because they may want to expand that to 4 teams down the road if they ever expand the field. Or they may want to shrink that to where even Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs get down to 3 teams. Or they eventually, if they get enough manufacturers and team owners that want to come into the sport, they might shrink it down to 2 teams per. I mean, who knows? But NASCAR wants to be able to control that, on a rotating basis. So anyway, I know that's a lot to take in, a lot to cover. Lawsuit information. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports was able to win an injunction so that they will be able to operate as charter teams in 2025. This only pertains to 2025. Part of that injunction also allowed both teams to be able to purchase the 3rd charter for their teams from the now defunct Stewart Haas Racing, where they were both able to purchase those charters. We will talk more about those charters and the drivers and teams for that when we go through the driver rundown here in a little bit. I was hoping to find a quick list of the dates, but I'm having problems finding a complete, an easy to find, easy to read rundown of the dates. I know that NASCAR is planning on appealing the injunction. They have not appealed it yet. They did try to get the case thrown out of court. The judge did not throw the case out. They said that the teams do have a case, basically, is what that means. So we're going to look and see what happens with that as we go on. I believe in May, cannot remember. I think it's in the early part of May. I think it's right before. Here we go. I did find it. Okay, so um, March 15th, or by January 31st, NASCAR has to turn in, all of their motions and whether they're going to appeal the injunction, all that. By Saturday, wow, that's really a weird date. Saturday, March 15th, they file any appealing or any amendments that they want to file, either the teams or NASCAR. Sometime in May, that's all this says, is the injunction appealing. The injunction appeal hearing will be heard if NASCAR appeals, which is believed that they will. June 31st, close of fact discovery, which means that all of the information that the teams is asking for from NASCAR will be given to the teams for their lawyers to look over. September 19th is the completion of discovery. Again, that's when NASCAR has to have everything turned over to the teams, and the teams have to have everything turned over to NASCAR. That's complete. The mediation report is due on September 24th. I guess I don't remember how all that works, but something to do with the discovery of everything is in mediation and how that's supposed to work. Filing of the dispositive motions is on October 1st, which again NASCAR can make a motion to dismiss. The teams can make a motion to change their whatever what they're asking for. Anyway, they can make all their motions as it pertains to the case. I'm sorry, y'all, but the website that I'm using is, just so you know, is Speed Sport. It's I can't remember the name of the website. Anyway, it's the website that Matt Weaver writes for. He's the one that actually wrote this article. Okay, and then December 1st is the trial, tentative trial date, which means that's after the end of the season. That is after the championship awards banquet. So the 2025 season will be settled by the beginning of this trial. Hopefully it will be if it does go to trial, if NASCAR and the teams don't settle between now and then, and it does go to trial, hopefully the hope is to have the trial finished, settled, and over before the start of the 2026 season, which is why the injunction only lasts for a year. Now, here's something crazy about this that I forgot to mention. The NASCAR asked for the teams to put down a bond, which basically meant that NASCAR would or the teams would give NASCAR a set aside amount of money that if the teams lost the lawsuit, NASCAR would keep that money. Basically, it was going to be the amount of money that NASCAR would pay the teams as chartered teams. Would go basically into the court system. The courts would hold that money, and then NASCAR would pay the teams. The teams would hand this money to the courts. NASCAR would pay the teams as chartered teams. At the end of the lawsuit, whoever won would get that money. The teams would either get reimbursed if they won, or NASCAR would basically get the money as a reimbursement for what they paid the teams as chartered teams through 2025. The judge said no. So the teams won in that. The teams so far seem to be winning in court. Now we don't have the trial, but everything the teams have asked for has pretty much been what we have got. So anyway, that's what's going on with the lawsuit. A lot going on. I know that's a lot to take in. You may have to rewind this and listen to it again just to catch everything. But What are your thoughts on this? It's crazy. I hope the teams wipe the floor with NASCAR. They get everything that they're asking for. The court makes NASCAR amend the charter agreement for all of the teams, not just 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. And that, anyway, that's what I'm hoping happens. What do you think?
Man, that's a lot behind the scenes going on with the whole charter agreement and the lawsuit. I would agree. I think the teams need, thankfully the teams are winning so far. It seems like, as you said, but I hope the teams, I'm hoping they can settle before trial. To be honest with you, I didn't realize it was going to keep going through the whole 2025 season. But the biggest thing is the teams run the sport. NASCAR is just the heading of the sport. So this is why I myself am so much on the team side, because without the teams, NASCAR wouldn't be a thing.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing. So if the teams are asking for something or saying this isn't right to NASCAR should just shut up and listen. It's the honest truth, because that's just how it should be, in my opinion. So I'm glad 2311 and Front Row Motorsports are taking a stand against what NASCAR is trying to do, and that whole put aside money into the court system. Whoever won got that money back. That's just, to me, that was like the stupidest thing ever, stupidest idea.
Which I think is why the judge was like, "No, we're not doing this."
Yeah, but I'm glad to see the teams are winning, because they run the sport. They're the reason the sport exists. So hopefully they keep on going. Like I said, I hope they settle before they have to go to trial. But knowing NASCAR and sometimes having a stick up there where the sun don't shine at times, I could also see this going completely through. So I guess we'll see. But I'm pretty sure that either way the teams will prevail the way they need to.
Here's the thing about this too. This whole trial, this whole situation puts NASCAR in a negative light. As far as 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, I think they're gaining fans off of this, because NASCAR is a monopoly. I mean, that's one of the main things that the teams are using in their arguments is NASCAR is a monopoly. We either do things NASCAR's way or we don't do it at all. But you said something that's very important to this. Without the teams, NASCAR doesn't exist. If no teams had signed this charter agreement and decided they weren't running in 2025, NASCAR would not exist. Okay. Now, some teams, like Richard Childress, said he had no choice. He's got 300 employees whose families he's responsible for. He had no choice. Okay, Richard Childress does not have the financial backing that a 2311 has. Okay, 2311 has Michael Jordan. Yep. Michael Jordan makes enough money on his shoe sales in a day to run each team the entire year. One day, all three teams. Okay. But it's not fair that Michael has to pay that money. Okay, and that's what Michael is saying. That's what 2311 is saying. They're saying, look, the sponsorship has changed over the years. We're not getting the sponsorship we used to. The value of the sponsorship, we're not getting it like we used to, because used to, when you had fewer channels, there was fewer things for entertainment. Sponsors would big money. You saw the same sponsor on the car, same paint scheme for 36 of the 38 races. They would usually change the paint scheme for the All-Star race, and then maybe another race through a big race, maybe the Daytona 500 or Darlington or something. That was it. They would change that paint scheme once or twice a year. They don't have that anymore. You'll see a different paint scheme almost every week on almost every car.
Yep.
Most teams have 4 to 5 major sponsors that you'll see on the hood of the car every year. So regards to this lawsuit, it makes NASCAR look bad because they're not supporting the teams like they should, as far as the revenue sharing. But we'll see how it all turns out. Again, we hope the we hope the teams wipe the floor with NASCAR.
Yeah.
The next big off-season news is rule changes. Let's talk about rule changes. Now, we're going to go through these one by one and then tell you what we think about each one of these rule changes. And I'll just start prefacing that I like this first one that we're going to talk to. It's called the Open Exception Provisional. It is a rule to use for a handful. It is to be used to as kind of a promoter's choice provisional, so to speak. And it's called the OEP, Open Exception Provisional, which allows a team to ask for pre-approval. It's done on a case-by-case basis. And it would be eligible for a race win. It would be eligible for the race win, the trophy, and all-star eligibility, but would not be eligible for points, prize money, or playoff eligibility. This is specifically for a driver outside of NASCAR, a Formula One driver, an IMSA driver, an IndyCar driver, somebody from V8 Supercars in Australia wants to come over. A driver outside of NASCAR come over to run a race, such as the Daytona 500, or a few years ago we had Shane Van Gisbergen running in Chicago. For a driver outside of NASCAR whose car does not qualify for the race on speed. Okay. The example for the Daytona 500 that we have is Project 91 from Team Trackhouse with Helio Castroneves coming over from IndyCar. If he qualifies for the race, they will not need to use this OEP because he will qualify for the race on speed or in the duels. He'll be eligible for the points. He'll be eligible for the prize money and not the playoff eligibility because he's not running the whole season, but he'll be able to get the points and the prize money. If for some reason he does not qualify on speed or does not make it in the duels, let's say, for example, he has a wreck and he's out, he will be the 41st starter in the Daytona 500. In other words, they will add a starting position for this car. And he will be able to compete. He's guaranteed a spot in the Daytona 500 no matter what happens.
Yep.
I think this is good. I think this will offer teams an opportunity to bring in another driver from another series to help boost the popularity of the sport of NASCAR. We saw when Kyle Larson went and ran the Indy 500 last year, it took a lot of NASCAR viewers over to Indy.
Yep.
Okay. When Kurt Busch did it a few years ago, when Tony Stewart's done it, Robbie Gordon's done it, John Andretti's done it. They've tried to run the double. It's brought a lot of NASCAR fans over to the Indy 500. Indy drivers, Mario Andretti, AJ Foyt, several other IndyCar drivers have come over and run NASCAR. It brought a lot of IndyCar fans over to NASCAR. Why not? I mean, introduce fans, because there's a lot of Helio Castroneves fans out there that don't watch NASCAR. They're going to get to watch the Daytona 500. They might fall in love with the sport. They've never watched a NASCAR race before. Or maybe they have, but they didn't enjoy it. Now they're going to get to see their favorite driver guaranteed to run in the Daytona 500, and they're going to watch. They might fall in love with the sport. And we could say, I mean, Max Verstappen comes over from Formula One and runs a road course race. That's going to bring some Formula One fans over. Not just Max fans, but Formula One fans over.
Yep.
That's going to be huge in helping cross-promote the sport of auto racing because F1, they're going to push, hey, our driver is going to run the Mexico City race. Our Formula One driver is going to go run in Mexico City for NASCAR. That's going to be great. NASCAR is going to be saying, hey, we've got this F1 driver coming over to watch, to race in Mexico City. IndyCar, same thing with the Daytona 500. IndyCar is going to be like, hey, we've got this driver. We've got Helio that's won the Indy 500 4 times. He's going to go and run the Daytona 500 with a chance of winning it. I mean, look at the team he's with, Trackhouse Racing. They could very easily win this race.
Absolutely.
That's going to be big for IndyCar and NASCAR. I want to say, can't remember if it was Mario Andretti or AJ Foyt was the last one that won the Indy 500 and the Daytona 500. But it has been decades since that's happened. This is great for the sport, in my opinion. What do you think?
Absolutely. Now, I will say when of course, this was before the podcast started, when SVG first entered the picture and he was running the Chicago Street Course. Of course, we're also not fans of that race either. But how he just came in with, it was Trackhouse he came in with and ran the race and won it. Okay, we did throw a little, like, okay, come on. How did a guy that's never been in a NASCAR car before come in and just win, wipe the floor with the rest of the Cup drivers? But when you look at it, it was actually good for the sport because you got, more fans involved. You got, fans from back in Australia watching NASCAR. Okay, that doesn't happen every day. So I see it as a big boost for NASCAR and whatever, other racing motorsport the driver may be from, to gain popularity, gain some fans, and just see, the different styles of racing, even though because NASCAR can be very similar, but at the same time it can be very different. When you look down to slight details, so you see different drivers driving, how they may bring in, how Max may bring in if he's ever to come in, how he might drive, put in the F1 driving skill set into a NASCAR Cup car, so I see it as a big thing. It's good for the sport in my opinion, and I hope that it continues to grow and become more popular so we can see some of these other drivers. Because like you said, I wouldn't mind seeing, I myself, I'm not a big F1, Formula One fan. But I play the game. I play the video game, with the steering wheel and everything. And Max is very hard to beat even on easy mode. So seeing him, come over real life to run a NASCAR Cup race, I think that would be awesome. So I'd like to see, a lot more of that happen, with, some of the street courses, some of the big races like the 500. And yeah, so I overall think it's also a really good rule.
All right, now another rule that caused a lot of controversy late in the season last year, and speaking of Watkins Glen and Talladega, is the damaged vehicle policy. NASCAR finally figured this out. I think these changes are going to be really good. Okay, so starting in 2025, cars will be permitted to continue the race after repairs in the garage. Remember before, if you went to the garage, you were out of the race.
Yep.
So now there is still a 7-minute time limit, 8 minutes for Atlanta, for the cars to be on pit road. So you have 7 minutes to be on pit road to fix your car. If it takes longer, you've got to go you got to go in the garage, fix your car. You can't come back out. So there's no clock in the garage. Teams will be penalized if a car leaves the pit box and rejoins the race, and the DVP clock has expired before it reaches the pit exit. If a car, remember we've had some flat tire issues with this car, right? Where the cars have had floor flat tires, have had to be towed. They will not tow the car back to pit road. They will tow the car to the garage. They can change tires in the garage and come back out. They're probably going to lose laps.
Yep.
It's just part of it. But it's a big deal because we're not going to have the Ryan Blaney had a toe link get broken or drivetrain or I think it was the front something to do with the front right suspension when he got into a crash at Watkins Glen, and they towed him to the garage, said you're out of the race, and they were mad because they didn't even get a chance to look at it to even access whether they could, hey, we can fix this. We can fix this on pit road. We can fix this in the garage. NASCAR took him to the garage. You're out of the race. The next week at Talladega, Josh Berry, I believe it was caught up in the wreck.
Mm-hmm.
They towed him to pit road, and it's like, well, wait a second. Now we got two different races, two different standards, same NASCAR officials. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, this fixes that issue. You got 7 minutes to work on the clock on pit road. If you run out of time, you got to go to the garage. You can still come back out. We're going to see race cars like we did in the past that are going to be missing part of the race car. This has a chance to bring out more cautions with, tape flying off or pieces flying off or whatever. But I'm okay with that because it brings back a lot of the old look and feel of the sport. And now you're not out of the race when you break a tie rod or you break an axle or something like that. Something that you can fix. It may take you 30 minutes to fix it, but you can fix it and get back out, maybe score some points.
Exactly. I agree. Great. I'm glad they made this change. Because we've seen a lot of races where, like you said, like they did with Blaney, where they go to the garage, you're out. But they can fix it. They can fix it on pit road. And then it made no sense when you said, Talladega, Barry got taken to his pit stall. So now that they have a set rule, this is good. Teams are be able to get, fix anything that may have happened during an incident and get back out in a race and keep from losing more points. Now they may still lose a couple points because being slow, from damage or something at certain tracks, how the draft and everything works, may not be able to stay up with the pack, but it keeps them from losing a ton of points and a lot of encouragement and confidence to keep running on with the race. So another good rule that NASCAR has done, and it's good that they finally set that in stone, because I feel like the whole go to your garage, you're out was a bunch of baloney anyway. Yep. So,
well, all these rule changes that we're talking about takes away a lot of the gray areas that we've had before. It's like, well, that's a questionable call. These rule changes that we're talking about pretty much sets this stuff in stone. The next one is another big controversy that we had in 2024. If competition officials grant a waiver for playoff eligibility, in most circumstances, the driver will forfeit any playoff points accumulated in the regular season. A driver will start with a maximum 2,000 points at the reset standings. Okay, there are some exceptions to this. Playoff points will not be forfeited in the event of a medical absence. In other words, if you miss the race for your health, you get hurt, you have to miss a race, you are granted a waiver, you're good. You can keep your playoff points. Or if you have a child being born, or a family emergency, or if you have age restrictions. In other words, there's some drivers that won't turn 18 until maybe the third race of the season. Okay, they'll get a waiver for those first couple races because they weren't eligible by their age. And they will be able to keep their playoff points. Playoff points would be forfeited if granted a waiver for a suspension or if a driver chooses to skip a race. In other words, Kyle Larson in 2024, when he did not start when he did not drive the car at all in the Coca-Cola 600, he was granted a waiver. He kept his playoff points. If that is to happen in 2025, he will start the playoffs with a maximum of 2,000 points. It doesn't matter if he wins 25 of the 26 races and wins all the stages, wins all the races, 25 of the 26 races. If he skips that 26th race, he starts with no playoff points. Or, as we've seen before, suspensions. You wreck a driver. You right hook a driver, they go head first in the wall. We've seen Chase Elliott. We've seen Bubba Wallace. We've seen drivers in the Truck Series get suspended for this. If you get suspended, no playoff points. Now, the other big deal with this is I can't remember where it's at. It's not really, I don't think it's not in this write-up. The appeals, if you get suspended, you cannot appeal it anymore. So they have also changed the fines. Before, they would fine if there's a loose lug nut or whatever, they would fine the crew chief $10,000 or whatever it was, right? Now they're just fining the teams because they knew the teams were paying it anyway. So now if you have a loose lug nut, your team gets fined $10,000, not your crew chief. So there is also a penalty. Well, hold on, before I go to that, let's talk about these playoff points. We've never really had this problem in the past where drivers have been suspended. We've never had this problem where drivers have skipped a race up until the past 3-4 years. We've had drivers suspended, but in the point systems that they had at the time, they would just lose the points for that race, which were usually a big deal, which would usually, if you missed a race, even before the playoffs situation started and before the chase and all that, if you missed a race, you were usually out of the championship hunt because that's a lot of points that you're usually not going to make up. But with the suspensions and, Kyle Larson, they're basically calling this the Kyle Larson rule because of what happened with the Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600 last year.
Yeah.
I think it's a good rule. I think it will make drivers behave a little bit better on track. When they get mad, they won't be trying to retaliate, trying to right hook a driver or whatever. This does leave some of the suspensions up to NASCAR's discretion, as to how that goes. But I think it's a good rule. I'm just not really sure it was necessary.
I would agree. It is a good rule. On being necessary, I feel like for some cases, I could see it being necessary. Especially with, like you said, it being called the Kyle Larson rule, because of the Indy 500 and Coke 600. I see for reasons like that this rule taking place. But we always know they'd always get drivers that may have to leave or miss a race because of family reasons or physical medical reasons. We've always known they'd get waivers. To see other things be able to possibly, hey, this happened, or I missed this race because of this reason, instead of that's not a big emergency reason. I think it's good. It gives the drivers a little bit of break, they don't have to stress about it too much. Obviously they kind of got to fight for points settings to come back more into the picture. but you can't count them out anymore because of this rule. So I see it as it could potentially be not a good rule, but right now I would say it's a good rule to have in place for the reasoning they have behind it.
Yeah. So the next big rule, everybody goes back to Martinsville last year, and they talk about the manufacturer manipulation of the race, which I call BS on. I think it was just teammates helping teammates, so to speak. Yes, it was manufacturer teammates, but I don't really see it as race manipulation. It's been happening for 75, 76 years. Okay. But NASCAR's now made a rule that if manufacturers are believed to have manipulated a race, I don't know how this is going to work with Daytona and Talladega and Atlanta, because manufacturers get together with their teams, and because Chevrolet wants a Chevrolet to win, Ford wants a Ford to win, Toyota wants a Toyota to win. They want their teams to work together. I hope this doesn't affect that kind of racing, but I mean, who knows? Anyway, if manufacturers are believed to have manipulated the race in some particular way, like they believe Chevrolet did at Martinsville and Toyota did at Martinsville with Bubba Wallace and Christopher Bell, they could lose manufacturers' points or have a reduction in wind tunnel testing or in test runs. Penalties will be assessed for violating policies in place for vehicle testing, wind tunnel limits, roster protocols, and code of conduct, which means, they can't have too many people on their roster or the wrong people on their rosters or whatever, or the code of conduct, which is where the whole race manipulation things come in. And then competition, to go along with that, competition officials adjusted the wording of the 100% rule of performance obligations, changing the focus on competitors who artificially alter the finishing positions to competitors who manipulate the outcome of an event. Going back to Ross Chastain and I think it was Ross Chastain and Austin Dillon with William Byron, and then Christopher Bell and Bubba Wallace at Martinsville. I don't know. We talk about unnecessary things. I think this is NASCAR paying. This particular rule is NASCAR paying too much attention to social media.
Yep.
I mean, that's just my opinions on that. I believe that's just NASCAR paying too much attention to social media.
Not that them paying attention to social media is bad. They're paying attention to the wrong types of fans on social media. They're not listening to big greats and then those hardcore fans. They're listening to the casual fans that tune in for a race or two every season. That's a big concern. We've talked about this a lot in the past. I get it. You want to bring in more fans, but you're not working with the diehard fans to get these new fans to come in the correct way. You're getting them in the wrong way, as we've discussed before. And a lot of veterans, former race, NASCAR drivers have said you're looking at this all wrong, and so, but this rule, I don't see it being a good rule, but who knows? It kind of seems weird, because like you said, three big races are being Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta. How do you rule this rule with those races? Because we're gonna see that. It doesn't matter. We're gonna see it. Period. Unless they're going to say something about this rule isn't for these, for super speedways. Or they just turn a blind eye for these races and not say anything. I don't know. I think that's just kind of a weird rule that's kind of pointless, in my opinion, because we're going to see it either way, no matter what track, to be specific, but especially, at the super speedways for sure. So I don't know.
Yeah. So there have been no changes to the playoff format as of yet. If there are, we will cover those on our post Daytona.
Boo.
Hopefully, I mean, they kind of got to get those out before Daytona. I would hope so. That way, everybody knows what rules they're playing by at the start of the season, because you cannot change the playoff format mid-season. So they really need to get that done if they're going to do it. They won't do what I want to do. I want to go back to a full season points championship. But anyway, so no changes there. The next big changes for 2025 that we need to talk about is where to watch NASCAR in 2025, because this new media agreement is different. It is huge. We are heading towards the future of motorsports. Okay,
Yep.
before we talk about where to watch each series, we do need to talk about NASCAR's new Fast network that will be debuting on January 29th on Tubi, which is a free streaming app. Doesn't cost anything. You do have to set up an account. They've got like 98 million weekly people that watch Tubi. I watch a lot of stuff on Tubi, a lot of old TV shows, a lot of old movies. Anyway, FAST stands for, yes, that's a great acronym, but it's free ad-supported TV. It's not a NASCAR term. It is a streaming term. It just, hey, I want to go fast, Ricky Bobby. But anyway, on this channel, they will have classic races. They will have race replays for the 2025 season. They will have exclusive content, which goes to NASCAR's new media center that they built. A lot of exclusive content, a lot of specials, Hall of Fame specials, etc., etc. They are going to stream the Hall of Fame ceremony live this next week, I believe. I think it's that Friday night. I think it's on the 29th. No,
That's
I
the
think it's on the
31st.
31st. Yeah, so it is Friday night. So they are going to be streaming the Hall of Fame ceremony live. This is a free. So if you have internet, you have a Roku, you have Apple TV, you have Amazon TV, whatever. Tubi is a free app. It doesn't cost you anything. A few minutes to set up your account. NASCAR is going to have this free channel. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to this channel.
Absolutely. This is something we've talked about before. NASCAR needs a NASCAR channel. We're getting that. Woohoo! This lets someone like me, a fan that may have missed certain races or wants to go see the classic races. I don't know if they're going to how many they may play from before I was born, but I like to see some of those races. I like watching some of those races. This gives me a chance to go see them instead of having to track them down and see if I can even get a glimpse of, highlights. So big cool thing that they're doing. Being on Tubi is awesome. As you said, you've used Tubi. I've used it, of course, as well. And even if you don't have Roku or smart TV, a way to watch it on your TV, on your phone, on your laptop,
Yep.
your tablet, it's available anywhere.
Yep.
Even if you have a not so smartphone that downloads apps, of course, just even the dumb phones can pretty much do that now, which is weird. They have a website you can go watch them on. So they've made a way where you can watch this and pretty much have no excuse to not be able to, unless it's a time management, which I understand. So super excited for this. We've been waiting for something like this. So I'm glad we're putting it into place. You said it starts on the 29th. That's in 2 days from now, from recording. Yep. So I'm already ready to put Tubi up.
This is a 24/7 channel. It's going to run during the off season, so it's 24/7, 365. So we will have NASCAR racing, NASCAR content in the off season, which is awesome. Yep. Well, all those classic races that we want to see, stuff like that, highlights. But what's really cool is there are a lot of people that cannot afford cable.
Right.
or they cannot afford. Like we're going to talk about the new media rights deal as we go through this part where we talk about where to watch everything. You may not have access to the CW. You may not have Amazon. You may not have TNT. You may not have HBO Max, or Max is called, not HBO Max anymore. But you may not have that. You may not have access to that. But if you have Tubi, I don't know what days. It's probably Tuesday or Wednesday. They usually put them on their YouTube channel on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when the
Yep.
race is. You can go and watch these races, and you'll have access to these races. And like I said, they have been on YouTube, but not everybody wants to be on YouTube.
Right.
So this allows fans that cannot financially have cable or satellite or streaming or whatever. They may have to wait a couple days, but they can go and watch the races. And that to me is very, very important for us to be able to offer fans.
Absolutely. I agree. And it gives us something to watch during the off season.
Right?
So
Yeah, I mean
it's a win-win. So yeah.
and
So
and during the week with their other content, we'll have a show to tune into, a weekly. I don't know if it's going to be daily, but we'll have a weekly NASCAR show to turn into.
yeah.
For Fox Sports did away with NASCAR Race Hub, so they don't have that anymore. So we will have that weekly NASCAR show that we can go watch on Tubi to get our news and stuff like that. So looking forward to that. All right. So the Truck Series is exclusive to Fox. All but 3 races are going to be on FS1. The 3 races that will not will be on the Big Fox channel. Let's see here. We have Homestead Miami on March 21st will be on Fox. Let's see. Yeah, the other 2 are down here. Michigan on June 7th will be on Fox. And Pocono on Lime Rock Park, which is a new race for the Truck Series this year, on June 28th will be on Fox. So otherwise, you can find it on FS1. Used to be Fox Sports 1, but they dropped the Fox Sports and just went with FS1. So that's the Truck Series. Xfinity Series. Every single race from Daytona to Phoenix, from Daytona in the spring to Phoenix in the fall, will be on the CW network. The CW network is an over-the-air channel in many places. A lot of cable and streaming and satellite companies also carry the CW. So every single race will be on the CW, and that's going to be awesome. You're not going to have to switch networks and stuff like that, because when we get to the Cup Series, it gets really complicated as far as where the races are going to be. The booth for the Truck Series has not been announced, but the booth for the Xfinity Series is Adam Alexander, Jamie McMurray, and Parker Kligerman, who Parker Kligerman just got out of these cars.
Yep.
Adam Alexander has been calling the Xfinity Series for years. So Jamie McMurray, I've been saying ever since he joined Fox Sports that he needed to be in the booth.
Yep.
So it's going to be a fun booth. It's going to be fun to look forward to for the Xfinity Series. I think it's really cool that they're all going to be on one channel. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yep.
So now we get to the complications.
Yep.
The Cup Series, starting at, we mentioned the Clash at Bowman Gray next Sunday. With the exception of the Clash, the Daytona 500, and the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, all practice and qualifying will be on Amazon Prime for the first half of the season, up until TNT takes over. Except for those 3, and those 3 will be on Fox, or on the Fox family of channels, which will be Fox or Fox Sports 1. Starting at the Clash and going through the All-Star race in May, everything will be on the Fox networks. I'm not going to run down every single race as to where it'll be, but just know they'll be on the Fox. Starting with the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, we have 5 races from the Coca-Cola 600 to the Pocono race. Will be on Amazon Prime Video. Big deal here. We're moving into streaming. The NFL, the NCAA, the NBA, really every major sports league has moved into streaming. NASCAR is moving in that direction as well. So for those of us like us that use YouTube TV, guess what? There's 5 races we can cut off our YouTube. We can pause our YouTube TV, and we won't have to pay that $90 a month because we've got Amazon Prime anyway. So because we use it for a lot of stuff besides just watching TV. And then starting in Atlanta the following week on June 28th, they move over to TNT, also simulcast on Max. So if again we have Max, it's part of our cell phone package. We don't pay for Max. Well, we do, but it's not near what Max actually pays because of our cell phone package. So there's another 5 weeks here that we don't have to pay $90 a month for our YouTube TV. So we get 10 races, 10 weeks here, where if you're strapped for cash or you're just paying for cable or whatever for NASCAR, you got 10 weeks, you get a break because you can watch the 5 races on Prime, 5 races on T. You can watch them on Max. Starting in Atlanta with TNT and Max, practice and qualifying moves over to Max. It will all be streamed on the Max app. So now here's the really cool thing about the TNT slot is these 5 races are a mid-season tournament. Whereas they will start out, you'll have 32 drivers. They will it comes out as average finishing position in the last 3, I want to say, Prime races. They take the average finishing position. Top 32 drivers are put in a bracket where it's head-to-head all the way down to the final 2. And the final 2 at Indianapolis will go head-to-head. Whoever finishes those will win $1 million for this in-season tournament. Denny Hamlin's bracket challenge that he's done the past couple of years on his Actions Detrimental podcast kind of laid the foundation for this. TNT does a NBA mid-season bracket tournament, so TNT wanted to implement this, and NASCAR is allowing them to do that. It's going to bring interest to the sport. We all know this is done for betting purposes, so if you
absolutely.
don't bet, you probably don't care. I'm in it for bragging rights. My drivers, I'm sure, are going to be in it. I want them to win it. William Byron won it. The first one, the first Denny Hamlin bracket challenge. So that was really cool. But then, okay, so then we go to Iowa on August 3rd, and we switch over to the NBC channel of networks, which is NBC and USA Network. So for the rest of the season to go out with Phoenix at the end of the year. So now what's really cool about this is each one of these media partners has a big race. Okay. Fox has the Daytona 500, the biggest race of the year. Amazon Prime has the Coca-Cola 600, and we're talking about marquee NASCAR events here. And I say marquee NASCAR events because these are considered crown jewels. Right. So you got the Daytona 500 on Fox, Coca-Cola 600 on Amazon Prime, the Brickyard 400. We're back to the oval. We ran it last year. We're back to it again this year. Thank the Lord. It's going to be on TNT. That's a big race. So those are 3 of the crown jewels. Depending on what you look at the other crown jewels. Okay, TNT has the Daytona 500 regular season race, and they also have the Southern 500, which is the fourth of our crown jewels. And depending, because I look at the Bristol night race as a crown jewel, and I also look at the Talladega fall race as a crown jewel. A lot of people don't, but that would mean that NBC would have three of them. But they have the Southern 500. Then, of course, they also have the championship race at Phoenix. So, and then Fox has the Clash at Bowman Gray. So that's a big marquee event. Fox also has the All-Star race. Amazon Prime has the race at Mexico City. That's a big deal this year. TNT has the Chicago Street Course. Probably from what we're hearing is the final Chicago Street Course race. Let's go back to Road America. That's just my opinion. And then, of course, we talked about Fox or NBC having Phoenix. So it's confusing. There's a lot going on. But I think in the long run, this is going to be great for the sport.
Absolutely. It is confusing, of course, for a lot of people. But I think it's good. Yeah, I don't have much to say. Who's we didn't cover it for the Cup. Who's in the booths for each broadcast?
Okay, for the Fox the Fox booth, it is going to be Mike Joy, Clint Boyer, and Kevin Harvick, carrying over from last year.
We know that's
for
good.
Amazon. Yep, they have really good chemistry together. Hopefully, they show a little bit more excitement than they have in years past. But,
yeah.
For the Amazon Prime and TNT coverage is Adam Alexander. Let's see, Adam Alexander, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Steve Letarte. Steve Letarte and Dale Jr. have excellent chemistry together. They had great chemistry on the racetrack, great chemistry in the booth. Throw Adam Alexander in there. And remember, Adam is also doing all of the Xfinity races.
Yep.
So all 32 Xfinity races. So that's a good booth. Looking forward to hearing the excitement. I love hearing Dale Jr. in the booth.
Yeah.
And then NBC's lineup is going to be Lee Diffie, Jeff Burton, and Steve Letarte. So Steve is staying with NBC as well. And then of course they're carrying Lee Diffie and Jeff Burton. I think Lee Diffie, he took over for Rick Allen last year after the IndyCar season was over. I think for somebody, this his very first race, and he did an amazing job in his very first race, and it just carried through the rest of the season.
Yep.
He did his homework for sure. He knew who the drivers were. He knew who the teams were. He knew their point standing and the point situations. So I think we have three really solid booths for our NASCAR coverage this year in the Xfinity Series and the three in the Cup Series. Like I said, we don't know the Truck Series booth yet.
No, I agree. Mike, Kevin, and Clint, of course, great chemistry there. A lot of back and forth between Kevin and Clint, which is really funny to listen to. And Mike will pitch in every now and then to their goofy, back and forth bickering. All fun and games, obviously, with the Fox booth. Amazon, Dale Jr., Steve Letarte, two great guys right there. Adam as well. When you add him to the mix, and then of course, moving on TNT and NBC, so as you said, all great booths for that. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be great to see that. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about driver lineups for all three series. As we know today, this might change between now and the Clash. This might change between now and Daytona, especially in the lower series. But I forgot to mention this rule: no more rookie stripes. Kind of a dumb thing. The rookie stripes kind of lets you know who the rookies were, kind of let other drivers know who the rookies were, who to watch out for. But NASCAR have made this no more rookie stripe rule. Like I said, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're going to go to the drivers for the truck series. And the teams. So we're going to start out with the number 1 of Tricon Garage. Toyota, it is Brent Cruz, Brandon Jones, William Solwalich, and Lawless Allen will be taking turns in that truck. We got the 02 Young Motorsports truck of Mason Massey. Do not know what they're going to be running in 25. Now, an interesting change. The number 2, it now belongs to the Rume Brothers Racing Team. It's a Ford. It's no longer with I forgot the name. Rev Racing. Rev Racing no longer has a truck series team. They are still active in the ARCA series, but it's going to be a Ford. It's going to be Tyler Thomasy and Cody Dennison. The number 5 Tricon Garage Toyota is going to be driven by Tori Bradinger. She's moving up from the ARCA series. I hope they give her a little more respect than they gave Haley Deegan, because the whole reason Haley went over to NXT IndyCar Next, was because of the lack of respect she got in the NASCAR garage and on the track. So hopefully they treat Tori with a little bit better respect. The number 7 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet, Corey Day, is the only announced driver for that team. The number 9 CR7 Motorsports Chevrolet is going to be Grant Enfinger again. It does say to be determined on 2025 plans, but I'm pretty sure they're going to run. They finished almost won championship last year. So
Yep.
The number 11 Tricon Garage Toyota is going to be driven by Corey Heim again. The number 13 ThorSport Ford. ThorSport Racing Ford is going to be driven by Jake Garcia. Again, plans to be determined. The number 15 Tricon Toyota is going to be Tanner Gray again. The number 17 Tricon Toyota is another rookie. Tori was our first rookie. Our second rookie here is Gio Ruggiero, moving up. So he's going to do the full season. The number 18 McAnally Hilgerman Racing Chevrolet is going to be Tyler Ankrum again. The number 19 McAnally Hilgerman Racing Chevrolet for 2025 is going to be Daniel Hemrick. He's moving back down to the truck series to take over a race-winning championship contending team. So that's pretty awesome. Because I was kind of worried about whether Daniel was going to land a ride or not, but he was able to land with McAnally, and that's a big deal. I mean, like I said, that's a race-winning truck. Championship contending truck. The 22 Rume Brothers Racing Ford has not named a driver. The 26 Rackley War Ford, formerly the 25 team that Ty Dillon drove last year, is going to be Dawson Sutton, another rookie. The number 33 Rume Brothers Racing Ford is going to be driven by Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle. If you were a big fan of his. Just announced today, this is pretty cool. In the number 34 Front Row Motorsports Ford, Lane Riggs is moving over there from the 38. In the 38 front row is going to be Chandler Smith. Again, another driver moving down that we were kind of worried about. Where was he going to land?
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
So he was able to land with Front Row Motorsports. The number 41 Nice Motorsports Chevrolet is going to be a combination of Bailey Curry, Ross Chastain, and Matt Gould. The 42 Nice Motorsports is going to be Matt Mills. The 44 Nice Motorsports, Christian Rose, another rookie. The 45 Nice Motorsports is going to be Caden Honeycutt, and Caden impressed last year.
He did.
So I look forward to seeing what he's going to do this year. The number 52 Hallmar Racing Toyota is going to be driven by Stuart Friesen. Interesting that this says to be determined on 2025 plans. So Interesting tidbit of news there on the 52 truck. The 51 Hills Motorsports Toyota, Timmy Hill, to be determined. The 66 Store Sport does not have a driver, to be determined as well. The number 71 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet is going to be Rajah Caruth. Again, another impressive rookie. Rookie last year. He was very impressive. The number 30, number 76 Freedom Racing Enterprises Chevrolet is going to be Spencer Boyd. Again, to be determined on their 2025 plans. Number 77 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet is Andres Perez de Lora. I probably butchered your name, dude. I apologize. Another rookie driver in the 77, Chase Purdy, has moved on from that team. The number 81 McAnally Hilgerman Racing Chevrolet, full-time in 2025, Connor Mozak. Impressive last year as well.
Definitely.
Driver, every time he got into a vehicle last year, whether it was on the short track scene, the late model scene, the trucks, whatever he drove last year, he was impressive. So look forward to seeing what he's going to do. Thor Sport number 88, Matt Crafton again. It's interesting that this also says to be determined for 2025. I don't know if that's just sponsorships or what, but that's interesting to see that there are so many to be determined on teams that have run full time in the past.
Yeah.
So the number 91 McAnally Helgerman Racing is going to be Jack Wood again, and then all the source sports actually say to be determined. So I guess maybe that's more of a, because they all say multiple sponsorships. So we'll see. Number 98 ThorSport is Ty Majeski, and number 99 of Ben Rhodes. Part-time, the 04 Roper Racing is that a Chevrolet?
That's
Ford. Is going to be Marco Andretti and Corey Roper. And then Norm Benning in the number 6. Nemco Motorsports might run a truck. They've entered Dakota last season. And then the Jennifer Joe Cobb Racing might run. Tyler Hutchison Racing might run as well. They entered a few last year. The Hattori Racing number 16 is unknown. The Young Motorsports number 20. So there's still a lot of teams that are yet to be determined. I'm not even going to read through this whole list because it's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So anyway, I do look to see the number 75 Henderson Motorsports Chevrolet, because Parker Kligerman is going to be still driving part-time in that truck. So and he's always competitive when he shows up. So
absolutely.
Keep an eye out for them. So anyway, that's our truck series rundown. Any thoughts, opinions?
So I'm just, we had a couple of drivers change around, but obviously ones I would say keep an eye on is going to be, as you said, number 45 Caden Honeycutt. Impressive last season, for sure. Number 71, last year was a rookie. He's got a little more experience under his belt. Rajah Caruth, we saw him win Las Vegas. Then he sadly kind of drooped down a little bit, but he still did really impressive for him and that Inspire team. So also keep an eye on him. And then the number 81 Connor Mozak, as you said, every time he got in a car, he was impressive. So I would definitely keep an eye on him as well. Those would be my top 3 to keep an eye on, especially here at the first third of the season, just to see what they do to maybe put their name in that conversation, championship 4 conversation. Even though it's early, we've done it before with drivers, so I want to see what they may do to put their foot in the door of that conversation.
Yep. So looking forward to it. All right, moving to the Xfinity series. Lots of changes in the Xfinity series. So we'll start out with the Double Zero Haas Factory Team Ford, formerly the Stuart Haas racing entry. Sheldon Creed is moving over to Ford. It's going to be his third team, third manufacturer in 3 years. Uh, Still winless on the in his Xfinity career, Truck Series champion. So we'll see what Sheldon's able to do in, again, race winning, championship winning equipment. The
Well,
number one.
before you go on, it
Yeah.
used to be, as we do know, Tony Stewart pulled out, so a lot of money has kind of gone down. But I still think in Xfinity they will be very competitive. I'm just throwing this out there real quick. I still think Haas Factory Team will be competitive with their driver lineup for Xfinity. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
For sure, I agree with that. All right, the number one Junior Motorsports Chevrolet, Carson Quapple, is moving up from the Cars Tour into that. He's going to be our rookie, one of our rookies. Surprisingly enough, both of our Rookie of the Year candidates come for Junior Motorsports this year. The number two, Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet of Jesse Love. The number four, Alpha Prime Racing Chevrolet. It's going to be driven by Parker Retzlaff, who was very impressive in the number 31 for Jordan Anderson last year.
Mm-hmm.
The number five, our Motorsports Chevrolet, is going to be driven by Chris Wright. That's a change I don't understand. I mean, they had Anthony Alfredo, who did really well in that car. So I don't understand why they're changing, but, it is what it is. The 07 SS Greenlight Racing Chevrolet is going to be driven by Patrick Emmerling, Alex LeBay, and Nick Latiz. I guess that's how you say that. So they're going to be splitting driving duties this year. The number 7 championship, 2024 championship team of Junior Motorsports with Justin Allgaier again as he returns. The number 8 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet is going to be driven again by Sammy Smith with the really cool DEI 8 font that Junior Motorsports now owns.
Yes.
They also own, I don't know if they got the 1 font for the number 1 team from DEI. I think that's just.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. So
I think the 1 and the 15 are just kind of out on the market right now. I don't think anybody's picked those up. But anyway, the number 10 Colleague Racing Chevrolet of Daniel Dye. The number 11 Colleague Racing Chevrolet of Josh Williams. Man, I so hope he breaks out. It has a whole lot better start to the season than he did last year. Last year, if a driver could hit it, Josh Williams hit it.
Yeah.
If something could happen, it happened to Josh Williams last year.
We talked really big. Him getting with Collie, that was a big moment for him because we all liked him. Because, one day, he just decided to park it when NASCAR told him to park it, but he parked it in a way nobody's going to forget on the start-finish line. Really gave him some credits to his name, calling NASCAR out on some stupidness as someone should, as usual. And, when we got the news he's going to Colleague, big break for him. We were thinking big things. Sadly, we didn't see it, but I think he's still learning the ropes, especially being, some drivers, when they go to a new team, it takes them a minute to get going, of course, and then he just never got going. But I feel like, now that he has a little more under his belt with Colleague, we're going to see something. So that's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, when you go from starting park to a championship caliber team, you kind of got to change your driving style. And
Exactly.
It took him a while. It took him a while to do that, but I agree. I think he's on the rope. So good luck to Josh. I want to see Josh win a race. I want to see Josh compete for the championship, and I believe he has the talent to do that. So, and he's definitely with a team that can do that.
Absolutely. Yes.
The 14 SS Greenlight Racing Chevrolet is going to be driven by Garrett Smithley. The 16 Colleague Racing is Christian Eckes, moving up from the Truck Series. Christian ran a couple races with them. I think it was last year as well. So in the Cup and Xfinity team. So Christian Eckes is a Truck Series winner, championship contender. So we'll see what he can do in the Xfinity Series. The Joe Gibbs Racing number 18, William Sawalich, is going to be in that car this year as a rookie. I guess not all of them are coming from JGR or from Junior Motorsports,
Junior.
because
Yep.
in the number 19 as well, we've got another rookie. He's only running 5 races though. Justin Bonsignor in the number 19 Joe Gibbs Racing. Man, Justin, we've watched him on the modified series for years. Him and Ryan Preece battling for championships. It's really good to see Justin get his break in the Xfinity series. I hope he gets more than 5 races.
I would too. As you said, we've seen him in modified. Him and Priest go back and forth quite often in a lot of races. Glad to see he's getting a chance. I'm sure he will do really well, especially being with Joe Gibbs. I think he'll prove himself and either get more races or find himself in a full season ride for next season. So I believe it.
And I mean, we can look at what the Joe Gibbs Racing Superstar car has done in the past. Ryan Truex has went out and won races in that car.
Yep.
Ryan Preece won races in that car. Before they ever made it to the Cup, that's kind of what helped propel them to where they're at now. Ryan Truex, he really deserves an opportunity at a full-time Xfinity ride as well. So hopefully we'll see that materialize in the near future. But drivers that don't get in these cars every week have won out and won in these Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas. So Justin has that same opportunity this year. Brandon Jones moves over from Junior Motorsports into the number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota for 2025. Austin Hill remains in the number 21 Richard Childress Racing Toyota. Chevrolet, I'm sorry, Toyota. Ooh, oh, that's big. The 2025 AM Racing Ford, which was the number 15 last year, is going to be driven by Harrison Burton. The number 26 Sam Hunt Racing Toyota is going to be driven by Dean Thompson. Another driver moving up from the Truck Series.
Yep.
The number 27 Jordan Anderson Racing Chevrolet is going to be Jeb Burton again. The number 28 RSS Racing Ford is going to be Kyle Sieg. The number 29 RSS Racing Ford does not have a driver named. Blake Perkins moves into the number 31 Jordan Anderson Racing Chevrolet for 2025. Joey Gase Motorsports, number 35, has Greg Van Alst, Mason Maggio, and Baltazar Legrisman. I'm going to try to take a stab at driving this year. I know I'm butchering these names, but I'm not very prolific in foreign languages, so some of these names are just hard for me to say.
We apologize.
Ryan Sieg returns to the RSS Racing number 39 Ford.
He still needs a win.
He's going to win this year. He's got a full season sponsor with Syabs. He's going to win this year.
Absolutely. I would agree.
I'm calling it now. Ryan Sieg will win a race this year and make the playoffs. And you mentioned the Haas factory team will be competitive. They've got Sheldon Creed in the 00 in the number 41. They've got Sam Mayer, race winning driver in the Xfinity series. Anthony Alfredo moves over to the number 42 Young Motorsports Chevrolet. Brandon Poole will be in the number 44 Alpha Prime Chevrolet. The number 45 Alpha Prime Chevrolet is going to be driven by Cesar Baccarella, Brad Perez, Mason Mancy, and Vincent Salas. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce that.
Salas or Salas? I'm not sure.
Either which way, it's again, we're sorry we butchered your name. Nick Sanchez moves over to the Big Machine Racing Chevrolet, which has won races. Parker Kligerman almost won some races last year. But Parker Kligerman is moving on to the Xfinity booth. So Nick Sanchez moves over from the Chuck Series to the number 48 car. Jeremy Clements Racing. Jeremy Clements will still be driving the number 51. Joe Gibbs Racing Chevrolet or Toyota. Wow. Taylor Gray is moving up, and this car, from my understanding, even though it's a Joe Gibbs Racing team, it is owned and operated by Ty Gibbs. So this is his team.
That would explain the number.
Stole Kyle Busch's number, but we'll move on. The number 70 Cope Racing, Leland Honeyman and Thomas M.
Annunziata.
Annunziata? Thank you.
I would think so.
Will be racing. The number 71 DGM Chevrolet will be Ryan Ellis. The number 88 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet full-time this year with Connor Zillage, another impressive driver in the truck and Xfinity Series last year, going to be making his rookie year this year, driving for Junior Motorsports. The number 91 DGM Racing Chevrolet, Josh Balicki. The number 99 Viking Motorsports, which was the number 38 of last year, is moving over to become a Chevrolet. And Matt DiBenedetto is going to be behind the wheel of that team. I'm looking forward to that. Seeing what Matt can do with the full season.
So glad Matt's coming back. I've been wanting him back for somewhere for a while with a full ride. So I'm glad he's back.
So some part-timers that I will mention, the number 9 of Junior Motorsports is going to be driven by Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen for a few races each. We don't know if anybody else is going to be driving that car, but that may be, I think they're driving like 4 or 5 races apiece. The number 17 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet is going to be back with multiple drivers. We do not know who, when, where they're going to be. But Jeff Gordon and who was Chad Canals has both said that the car would be on track multiple times this season. Heavy at the beginning of the season, light in the middle of the season, heavy at the end of the season. It's what the cars run. The number 24 of Sam Hunt Racing will be back as well. Jordan Anderson's bringing back his number 32. Really big news coming out this week that I want to point out is Casey Kane is coming back in the number 33 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet. This is really cool. He's going to be sponsored by HendrickCars.com. He's going to be in an RCR Chevrolet, and he's coming back to run at Rockingham. So that's going to be awesome to see. First off, it's going to be awesome to see NASCAR back at the Rock. Second off, it's going to be great to see Casey Kane back in a NASCAR car. Third, it's going to be awesome to see a Richard Childress racing car sponsored by a Hendrick Motorsports or a Hendrick-owned company.
Yeah. A lot of twists and turns with that, but when I saw that news, I was like, huh? I was like,
yeah, that was definitely not on our bucket list for NASCAR announcements this week.
No, not at all. But I think it'll be awesome to see Casey back for a race, especially at Rockingham. I think that's just gonna, be a rock of a race.
The last time NASCAR raced at Rockingham, it was the Truck Series, and Casey Kane won, and it was the 00 Haas Motorsports Chevrolet that I believe at the time was being entered by Junior Motorsports. Because Casey Kane, Kevin Harvick, and Cole Custer all won in that truck that year, and I believe it was for Junior Motorsports that they were actually driving for. So anyway, that's our Xfinity lineup. Any comments on that?
I'm gonna just throw in obviously Casey Kane at Rockingham is going to be a big event for sure. Chastain, SVG in the number 9 for, it says here 9 races total. Obviously, I like seeing, at times when Cup drivers step down to give the Xfinity guys a run for their money. The full-time season guys to watch, obviously, our rookies, Connor Zillage in the 88. That man I mean, the kid drove his butt off multiple times last season, won races last season when he was in the car. So look out for him. As we mentioned, Ryan Siege, look out for him. as we believe he'll get his first win finally. Long waited. Justin Bonsignor, I think that's a good opportunity for him in the 19, so watch out for him. Eck is stepping up. We saw him win multiple truck races, so I think he'll do well in the 16 with colleague. As we mentioned, Josh Williams as well. And then, of course, you've got, if I can get back to it, Jesse Love got some more experience under his belt. So I think he'll do well as well. And then, of course, Carson Quapple.
I think Jesse Love's going to be dangerous this year. I really do.
I would agree. He was, as a rookie, he was dangerous, and we saw a lot of potential from him. So I think now that he's getting a whole lot more comfortable with his car, and with the tracks, he's going to whip some people into shape. That's for sure. And then of course Carson Quapple, with the number 1 Junior Motorsports, as usual, Junior Motorsports heavy of ones to watch as always. Of course, you also got defending champion Justin Allgaier, who's a veteran. We know he'll be very competitive as well throughout the season. So Xfinity, I'm excited for. I would say I'm most excited for, just because of the driver lineup and seeing, our defending champion as Allgaier. I want to see how much more aggressive or cautious he may be, as defending champions tend to drive a little differently than they did, multiple years before. So I think Xfinity is going to be a series to watch for sure. So make sure to tune in CW to watch it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go with Justin as my championship pick. I think until you beat him, he was there. He was on the cusp of it many, many years. I think this is his year to repeat. I think Justin is one of those guys that, you go back to when he got his first win. When he got his first win, and we talk about this a lot, once you get that first win, then they just start piling up, right? You get 1 win, then you get 2, then you get 3. Next thing you know, you got 10, 15 wins for the top talented drivers. Okay. I think the Xfinity Series championship is going to be like that for Justin. Now that he's got that first championship off of his back, I think it's going to be hard to beat him. He knows what it takes to win it. He's won it. It's going to be hard to beat them for the next 3, 4, 5 years. As long as Justin stays active, it's going to be hard to beat him for sure.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. So we've always known he was more than capable of getting that championship, and now he finally has one. Now that he has it, I would agree it's going to be hard to beat him. So,
and we didn't give a championship pick in trucks, so I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to say Raja Caruth in the number 71. Him and Daniel Hemrick in the number 19 are my champ, and of course Corey Heim is going to be in there. Those are 3 of who I picked for my championship 4, but I'm going to say Raja is going to pull off the championship. It's going to be a stunner because everybody's going to have Corey Heim, penciled in on the trophy, right?
Yep.
Going into Phoenix. Everybody's going to have Corey Heim penciled in just because of what he's done the past couple of years. I think Raja is going to be a surprise championship winner in 2025 for the Truck Series.
I would agree with that as well. Raja and Corey definitely, and then Hemrick, of course, with his experience. I can agree with that for sure. So yeah, we're gonna take a quick pause from recording. So when it actually starts up, you won't know about it. But it may jump to a different look. So just be aware. So yeah, be right back. Okay, it's recording again. So, as I said, we took a quick break, but we're back, and now we're going to go over Cup drivers.
Yes. not a ton of changes in the Cup Series, but there have been some changes, of course, with SHR going away and some driver changes. So let's run through our driver lineup for the Cup Series real quick. First, we have the number 1 Trackhouse Chevrolet of Ross Chastain. I'm not even going to try these sponsors. There's like a ton of them for all these teams. Anyway, the number 22, the number 2 Team Penske Ford of Austin Cindric. The number 3 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet of Austin Dillon. New number, new team, new driver for the number 4 Front Row Motorsports, formerly SHR Ford, is going to be driven by Noah Gragson. So glad Noah's getting this break with his team. This is a race-winning potential team.
Absolutely.
Of course. And then, of course, everyone's preseason favorite, most people's preseason favorite, the number 5 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet of Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
He is not. I've got him in the playoffs. He's not my preseason favorite. The number 6 Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing Ford of Brad Keselowski. Looking forward to see what they do this year. Number 7 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet of Justin Haley. Justin's back with that team again this year. I'm really looking forward to see if Justin won a race this year. I would not be surprised. If any of the Spire Motorsports drivers win a race this year, I would not be surprised. Just because of what the team owners and the sponsorship side and everybody has poured into this team in the offseason and the people they've hired. I mean, Justin Haley has Rodney Childress as his crew chief.
Yep, I was about to point that out.
So if Justin, as a matter of fact, I'll be more surprised if Justin doesn't win a race than when he does. Just because of what that team is poised to do. The number 8, Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet of Kyle Busch. I will make a note. This is a contract year for Kyle in the number 8 RCR Chevrolet. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, definitely.
Honestly, I don't see him back at RCR, but we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know where he would go. Unless he goes to 2311, which I don't see them booting any of their drivers. I don't know where Kyle would go unless Denny Hamlin decides to call it quits and Kyle goes to the number 11 JGR car, or goes back to the number 18 JGR car. I don't know. I just don't see him back with RCR after this season, unless they go out and win a bunch of races and get deep into the playoffs, and then I could very easily see him re-signing. But I would think before they get to the playoffs, he's got a deal done either with them or with another team before the playoffs start. So anyway, the number 9 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet of Chase Briscoe. No, I'm kidding, Chase Elliott.
How dare you?
That's not going to change. Interesting to note, the Amazon Prime is going to be a sponsor on this team in 2025. So that's really interesting to know that one of the TV partners is going to be on one of the Cup cars this year. The number 10 of Colleague Racing, formerly the number 31 of Colleague Racing, is going to be driven by Ty Dillon. So Ty's getting another shot in the Cup Series. Our Colleague Racing has an affiliation with RCR. So the number 10 used to be an SHR number. It is now a Colleague number. The number 11, Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota of Denny Hamlin. Again, we'll see how long. We'll see if Denny, he did sign a multi-year extension, but new crew chief this year, which he was not expecting. New sponsors with King's Hawaiian and a few other teams. He's lost a couple sponsors over the offseason with FedEx and Mavis. So it's going to be interesting to see how this year works out for Denny.
Yeah.
Team Penske Ford of Ryan Blaney. I'm pretty sure he's pretty solid in his ride.
Yeah.
The number 16 Colleague Racing Chevrolet of AJ Allmendinger. Number 17 Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing Chris Buescher returns. The number 18, Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. Chase Briscoe has signed, coming over from Stewart Haas Racing after Truex retired. The interesting part about this that I want to point out is Bass Pro Shops is going to be on the car for all 38 races this year, on the hood of the car. So that's a big deal, because we mentioned earlier that sponsors aren't sponsoring full seasons that often anymore. So we have Bass Pro Shops, and Bass Pro Shops is also going to be on Noah Gregson's car, probably Ty Dillon's car, Austin Dillon's car at some point in the season. We know that they're sponsoring several races for Austin Dillon. So Bass Pro Shop making a huge investment in the sport of NASCAR, as they have for many, many years.
Definitely.
Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota of Christopher Bell at number 20. The number 21 Wood Brothers Racing Ford of Josh Berry. Looking forward to seeing what Josh is able to do with his team.
I do want to point out this is the 75th year anniversary for Wood Brothers Racing. Big milestone for them. Josh Berry driving for their 75th year. Big things for Josh. So I feel like he's got a little more oomph under his belt, and a little more reason to drive his butt off with this car. So I feel like Josh will be a big part of this season for sure, and the 21 will be in victory lane once again for this big milestone year for them. Just wanted to point that out.
It wouldn't be a shocker to see. I don't have either Justin Haley or Josh Berry in my playoff rundown that we'll talk about in a minute. But if they won, either one of those drivers won, it wouldn't shock me at all to see them in victory lane. So 22, Team Penske Ford, Joey Logano. Anyway, number 23, 2311 Racing Toyota of Bubba Wallace. He returns. Number 24, Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet of William Byron. He is my he is my championship favorite. Now we skip a lot of numbers of cars that I won't be running, and jump to where we see some changes. We've already mentioned the number 4 Front Row Motorsports of Noah Gragson. Todd Gilliland moves from the 38 to the number 34 Front Row Motorsports Ford. The number 35 2311 Racing Toyota, new team, new car, new number. Riley Herbst is going to be, they will be a chartered team this year. Monster Energy is going to be sponsoring the majority of the races. So it's Riley's getting his shot at the Cup Series this year. The number 38 Front Row Motorsports, Zane Smith returns to Front Row after leaving for a year to compete for Spire Motorsports. He returns, and he's going to be in the number 38 Front Row Motorsports Ford. It's going to be interesting to see how Zane does this year. Todd ran really, really well last year.
Mm-hmm.
Michael McDowell ran really, really well last year. Todd's getting his ride. Zane Smith is getting Todd's old team. So, and then you throw Noah to the mix. Again, 3 drivers would not surprise me to see in victory lane.
Absolutely. Front Row stepped it up for sure. So,
yeah, for sure. If now the next team, the number 41 Haas Factory Team Ford, if they want to race, I would be absolutely shocked. But yeah.
Yes, I would be shocked, but the last time we saw the number 41 in victory lane was during the driver's rookie season at Kansas, if I remember correctly, by Cole Custer. So, yes, I would be shocked, but at the same time, I'd be like, okay, he squeezed one in. It would make sense at the same time.
It was on a late race restart at Kentucky, a race that Kevin Harvick should have won. But anyway, I digress. The number 42 Legacy Motorsports Motor Club Toyota, John Hunter Nemechek, he returns. Eric Jones is going to be in the number 43 Legacy Motor Club Toyota. Tyler Reddick returns to the number 45 2311 Toyota. Another interesting change. Hayek Motorsports Chevrolet, number 47, formerly JTG Doherty Racing. Um, uh, the Geschichters have sold their interest in that team. Have a new majority owner. So Ricky Stenhouse is still going to be sponsoring, or still going to be driving for that team. Kroger has left this team and moved over to RFK Racing. I say Ricky's really going to struggle this year. They don't have the money coming into the team that they have in the past. So it's another, if he wins, it's going to shock me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Number 48, Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet of Alex Bowman returns. He did sign a contract extension, but I believe that Alex Bowman is on the hot seat again this year. We talked about it last year. Last year he did what he needed to do. He won. He made the playoffs. He went deep into the playoffs.
Got kicked out because of a dumb call.
Yep.
In my opinion,
would have went deeper into the playoffs had it not been for, I believe it was a team error. I don't believe it was anything intentional. But anyway, again, he needs to win, and he needs to go deep in the playoffs to keep his seat. I think there's too many young, hungry drivers out there looking for rides with money. Yeah. Not that Hendrick Motorsports needs money, but there are a lot of hungry drivers out there that could replace Alex. So Alex really needs to step up his game again this year. The dumbest call in the history of NASCAR racing. Rick Ware Racing, Cody Ware returns to the number 51 Ford. I don't know what he was thinking. Corey LaJoie would have been a much better fit, but whatever. We have our scheduled last 20 lap of the race caution every week is going to be the number 51 Cody Ware Ford.
Most likely.
So the number 54 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, Ty Gibbs returns. New team, new car, new number. The number 60 Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing Ford of Ryan Preece. Kroger had a lot to do with this team starting up. They are leasing the number 15 charter from Rick Ware Racing for the number 60 RFK Ford. So it will be a chartered team this year. So that means that guarantees Ryan a starting spot. Going to be interesting to see what Ryan does with this team. Both drivers of RFK won last year. If Ryan wins, again, no surprise.
Nope, not at all. We've seen him do, he did what he could with the 41 and when he was with Stuart Haas, of course, that being no more. This is a big deal for Ryan, in my opinion, because when we first heard the news, it was still rumored, not put into place, but the rumor was Kroger, even if it wasn't chartered, Kroger would completely fill that ride money-wise, so he could be in every race. So Kroger has a lot of, faith in Ryan that he'll perform well, and I feel like he will, especially with the team he's with. We've seen RFK do phenomenal throughout the years, especially since Keselowski stepped in to be owner of this team. So I feel like he's got big shoes to fill, but he can fill them pretty easily, in my opinion.
For sure. Another driver changed. The number 71 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet is Michael McDowell. Mentioned it earlier. Would not be surprised to see any of the Spire drivers win.
No, not at all.
Carson Hocevar going into his sophomore season in the number 77 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet. If he wins, no surprise.
Especially with how well he ran for rookie season.
Oh, yeah, especially the last half of the year. When they went back to those tracks the second time, I mean, very, very impressive.
Absolutely.
For him. The number 20, or another new team, new number, the number 88 Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet of Shane Van Gisbergen. Wouldn't be surprised to see him pull off some road course victories, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a guy I was talking about earlier. He's the guy that came in, number 91, or was it not? It was 91 or 97. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was 91. It was Project 91.
And won Chicago street course. First race he'd ever been to, first race he'd ever been in a car. Impressive. And we've seen him do really well road course wise, Xfinity as well. With quite a few wins last season. So SVG's, he's ready for this. So I think he'll do great. I'm excited. This is kind of weird. I'm not a Red Bull fan, but I like their paint schemes. I'm excited to see Red Bull come back into the sport as a sponsor.
Right.
That is huge. We haven't seen Red Bull on a cup car in forever. So that is huge news. And to go with SVG, and also, we're not to it yet, also sponsoring an open car with Connor, huge in my opinion. So I'm excited to see them put their foot back in the door with the NASCAR sponsorship. It's going to be good.
Yeah, and Justin Marks said on Twitter that was one of his goals when he started Trackhouse Racing, was to get Red Bull back into the sport of NASCAR. So to see them, and Red Bull also sponsored SVG in V8 Supercars over in Australia. So it's really good. And you always love to see sponsors come back into the sport. They left for a while. It's great to see them come back. Hopefully this opens the door for other sponsors. Hopefully Red Bull has success and other sponsors say, okay, they left, they came back, they're having success. People are seeing their advertising, and it encourages other sponsors to come back into the sport. So I think sponsorship wise, NASCAR is getting back to a very healthy spot. We still got some holes to fill, but I think we're getting back in that direction. And Red Bull just proves, Trackhouse bringing Red Bull back just proves that there is a good market in the NASCAR world for sponsors and advertisers. So yeah, and then of course we round that out with the number 99 Trackhouse Chevrolet of Daniel Suarez. Again, another hot seat driver, I think, in my opinion.
I'm iffy on that one because of yes, I believe he could be on a hot seat, but I feel like with the relationship he has with Chastain, with Trackhouse, and seeing their good relationship that we've seen at few times between him and SVG as well, I feel like Suarez has too much of a good reputation of sportsmanship and encouragement to Trackhouse team that I don't see him as a big hot seat person, especially like Alex Bowman, with how Suarez has, his name with Trackhouse. Yes, I do agree he is on the hot seat, but I don't think he's
as hot.
His seat is warm, yes, but I don't think it's hot yet. But it could get there. I'm just saying, I feel like with what he has with Trackhouse, he's in a good spot.
I think a lot of it's going to be determined by sponsorship, not necessarily Daniel as much as sponsorship. If he doesn't have the sponsors, and let's say Connor Zillage does have the sponsors, I could see them putting Connor in that car.
Exactly.
Next year. But I think Daniel's hot seat issue basically breaks down to sponsorship, because I agree with you. His relationship with other drivers, his relationship with the team, his relationship with the fans. Fans love Daniel Suarez, especially our Hispanic fans. Love Daniel Suarez. And if he can get the money behind him to stay with him or to get new money to come in, I think he's pretty solid. But I think his seat depends on sponsorship. So a couple of part-time cars that we need to mention is the number 15 of Rick Ware Racing. They're going to run some races. The number 33 of Richard Childress Racing probably run some races. And I'll mention, I'm not going to go over a lot of because we're going to talk about them here in a minute, the Daytona 500 entries. And then the other one is going to be the 84 Legacy Motor Club of Jimmy Johnson. Is going to be really interesting because he's only been announced to run 2 races this year, the Daytona 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. So he's scaling back quite a bit. And then you mentioned the number 87 Trackhouse for Connor Zillage. And we've also mentioned the number 91 Trackhouse for Helio Castroneves that he's going to run at Daytona. But like I said, I'm not going to run down all of the cars right now because we're going to talk about a lot of them here with Daytona 500 entries in a minute. So anyway, that's our rundown for Cup drivers. Any other thoughts, comments you want to make on our Cup lineup?
Right now, no. Because with Cup, it's hard to be like, all right, here's those to watch, especially the beginning of the season. Because we know there are some that are come out kaboom, and some are going to come out a little slow, but then get there. It's always different every year with Cup. So I'm not going to say any ones to watch as of now. But I do look forward to seeing what the new driver lineup and the new team that have been put into place. I am excited to see how they do and what they'll do with the upcoming season.
Well, I will say one to watch late in the season. The past few years, he's been hot at the beginning of the season and has cooled off later in the season. I think that Hendrick Motorsports recognizes this issue. I do not look for William Byron to come out firing like he has early in the season this year. Now, I look for him to be competitive in the 500. I look for him to run up front, but maybe not click off as many wins early in the season. I look for late summer, early fall, heading into the playoffs for the 24 team to really pick it up because Rudy Fugle, William Byron, Chad Canals, Jeff Gordon have all mentioned, hey, we're hot at the beginning of the season. We cool off in the sun. We get cold in the summer and we're cool going into the fall. And it really hurts us going into the playoffs. Really hurts us, especially at Martinsville. They won Martinsville in the spring. They competed in Martinsville in the spring back in the year before. Martinsville in the fall, the past 2 years, they've really struggled. I look for them to not be as front heavy this year as back heavy. I look for them really getting close to, I say when we start getting into that TNT run, leading into the playoffs, I look for the 24 team to really start warming up. And then when we hit the playoffs, I look for them to be on fire. Martinsville, they're not going to struggle this year in Martinsville in the fall. They're going to go out, and the domination that they've had in the spring over the past 2 years at Martinsville is going to transfer into the fall in 2025 for the 2014. So as far as my who to watch, that's what I would keep my eye on. That team in particular, not to be so hot at the front of the season, but to be on fire, burning it down at the end of the season this year.
I can agree with that. As you said, number 24, especially last year, came out not just on fire, but burning the place down because, winning the 500 right off the bat, that's huge. I knew Byron could do it. I didn't realize he'd do it so early in his career, to be honest with you. So that was huge. And then, 40th, anniversary for Hendrick, winning Martinsville in the spring, another big moment for the team. I would agree. I feel like they have recognized, hey, we're burning the place down at the beginning and, on fire in the spring. And we just, it's almost like we went to Alaska. Oh, wait, that's where I'm at. It's not that cold. Anyways, they get really cold in the summer and they struggle going into the fall up to playoffs. So I would agree. I would say they have recognized that, especially because it's happened the past couple years. They've recognized it. They're going to work on it, and I would agree. They're going to be warm very warm, leading up to summer, and then start picking it up into the summer, late summer, early fall, going into the playoffs for sure. I would definitely agree with that. So
all right. So we've got two big change. We've got a big change this year. We talked about the Clash being at Bowman Gray. NASCAR this past week, or the week before, anyway, put out their format. Sorry, I had a brain fart for a minute. They put out their format. If you really want to look in details, you can go to jayski.com and look at their website. I'm just going to run through it real quick. There's going to be 3 qualifying practice sessions. Each qualifier's fastest lap time for their final practice session will determine the starting lineup for the heat races. Basically, the fastest will be on the pole for Heat 1, the second fastest on the pole for Heat 2, third fastest on the pole for Heat 3, fourth fastest on the pole for Heat 4, and then you go back up, and you just 5, 6, 7, 8. You just go down each heat. That's how the lineups are set. Heat races are going to be 4 heat races, 25 laps each. The top 5 from each heat race will go on to the feature event. This is really cool. Only green flag laps count. And that is in the heat races, the last chance race, and in the Clash feature. Only green flag laps count. That is awesome. That is cool. That is dirt track racing, short track racing to its finest. Then there is a last chance race, 75 laps, last chance race. The top 2 will advance and they'll be the 21st and 22nd car in the in the feature. And then the 23rd entry, there will be 23 entries. The 23rd entry will be the highest points finishing driver not already qualified. So it could be the 24th place driver in the points. It could be the 16th place driver. It could be the number. I mean, let's see. Who won the championship last year? Joey Logano. He may struggle in the heat races and not qualify through the heat races or the last chance race. He was points leader. He'll be the 23rd starter in the field. Anyway, that's how it goes. There'll be 23 drivers, 200 laps. Green flag counts. Only green flag counts. There'll be a mid-race competition break at lap 100. So, very similar format to what they had at the Coliseum. Again, you can find all this information on Jayski, as well as our lineups and all that. That's where that came from. Looking forward to that. Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. It's going to be a big deal. Kicks off the racing season. Well, actually, the racing season kicked off with the IMSA Rolex 24 this past weekend. If you didn't watch it, you want to watch it, go back on Peacock. It's the entire 24 hours is on Peacock. So you can go back and watch that whole race. But this kicks off the NASCAR season. New track, new venue, new format. It's going to be fun.
I agree. I've heard a few stories about Bowman Gray, some good moments there. So I like seeing. I like when I see NASCAR going back to some older tracks. Like, we've brought Nashville back, Rockingham's coming back. Now we're going to Bowman Gray. I'm loving this. North Wilkesboro, we've kind of added to the mix. So I like seeing that we're going back to these older tracks, seeing how it's definitely going to be different, seeing how the newer car, these next gen cars work compared to whatever was on the track last. Whatever gen that may have been. I like seeing this. The format's great. I love it. Green flag count only. That's good. I'm excited to see this. For once, I'm excited for the Clash, because when it was at the Coliseum, I was just like, because to me, the Coliseum brought no excitement. Bowman Gray, that's excitement. We're bringing back some history. We're bringing back, we're mixing the historic time with current, generation. I think it's going to be awesome and a great experience.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So, we got the Clash. Then we got the Daytona 500. And there is some interesting. We've already ran through the lineups for the chartered cars. Let's talk about the non-chartered cars running for the Daytona 500. And then after this, we're going to take another quick break and then get into our predictions. Way too early playoff predictions. After we run through this, but we got some really interesting things. And this one just popped up. This was not on the page when I pulled it up earlier before we started. So there's a new entry into the Daytona 500 that's happened just in the past couple hours. And it's also a new car number that we were not expecting to see. The 01 of Rick Ware Racing with driver Corey LaJoie is going to be entered into the Daytona 500. It was the number 15. They're wanting the 01. I do not know why. This does not explain why. I'm sure if you go on X or something, you will find out why. I'm not going to pull that up right now, but Rick Ware Racing, the number 01 for Corey LaJoie. Pretty cool news.
Wow. I didn't expect that. I like Corey as a person. As a driver, he can be kind of reckless, as we've seen in the past. I didn't expect him getting really much at all for this season. I thought he might want to take a season off, maybe reconsider what he was doing. But sweet. Give him a chance. Rick Ware, I know kind of lowest of the totem pole, but it's better than nothing in my opinion. Is he going to make the 500? Who knows? It being Rick Ware and then being so many open cars, as we'll talk about them with certain drivers, it's going to be hard for him to get in. But yep. I'm glad to see that he's getting this opportunity. So that's kind of cool. As you said, that's happened in the last few hours that we didn't know about. So
yeah, so because we haven't been on social media since we started recording. So now here's a car that I expect to qualify on speed. I don't expect them to have to race their way in to the duels. The number 40, Justin Allgaier, Junior Motorsports Chevrolet. Junior Motorsports is moving into the Cup season, at least for one race, with Justin Allgaier. Couldn't have picked a better driver. He's been in the Daytona 500 before. He's got experience in the Cup Series. But when this announcement was made, it's going to be Traveler Whiskey is going to be the sponsor. Greg Ives is going to be the crew chief, which, again, he's been a successful crew chief in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. Like I said, this car is going to qualify on speed. They're not going to have to worry about racing their way in the duels. I believe Justin Allgaier will be in the Daytona 500 on speed. This is awesome. And if you have not listened to the Dale Jr. download where Dale Jr. and Kelly and Dale Jr. and Chris Stapleton and Justin Allgaier have a conversation about this entry, you need to go listen to it. I'm excited to see that this is a potential Daytona 500 winning car.
I absolutely. This is huge. We've been talking about this forever. We know Junior Motorsports has been, it's been on the back burners. We've been wanting Junior Motorsports in Cup. We've been waiting for it. We're seeing them put their foot in the door with the Daytona 500 entry. I agree. Justin's going to take this car and he's going to qualify on speed. And I feel like he will run up towards the front. Maybe not at the start, but midway through the race, he'll be up there. I've been waiting for this. I'm excited. When they made the announcement, I had to stop exactly what I was doing and pretty much scream yippee.
Right?
Because we've been waiting for this for so long. And seeing the announcement, seeing the excitement from Junior, seeing the excitement from Allgaier, even the sponsorship the sponsor is excited for this. This is huge for the fans, for Junior Motorsports, for NASCAR, especially in my opinion. Not exactly the number I wish he would be running with the number 40, but I'm excited. I can't wait to see that car on the track.
Well, the number 40 is tied to the sponsor, so that's where that number comes from. Plus, all the Junior Motorsports numbers are taken. The 1, the 8, the 9, the 7, and the 88 are all taken. So
exactly. So I understand the number being, of course, you saying sponsor pick. You want the sponsor happy, of course, and then all of your junior numbers, and pre-DEI numbers being taken at the moment. I understand it. I was just saying, hey, if one of the numbers was open, it would be nice to see one of those numbers on the car. But I understand. I still think it's going to be super cool.
Now, we do need to point out, this is not a Hendrick Motorsports built car. Junior Motorsports is investing their money in buying and building this car. They are getting an engine from Hendrick Motorsports, yes, but Hendrick Motorsports is not building this car. This car is being built at the Junior Motorsports shop by Junior Motorsports employees, with engineering help from Hendrick Motorsports, with engines from Hendrick Motorsports. But this car is a Junior Motorsports entry, not a Hendrick, not a fifth Hendrick car, as everybody has been saying. This is a Junior Motorsports entry. Then we got JJ Yaley with NY Racing in the number 44. They've ran several times. Another big kind of surprise, the number 56 of Martin Truex Jr., not 2311 like everybody expected, but Tricon Garage is putting this, who's a Truck Series team, is fielding this car. I believe it's being built by either 2311 or Joe Gibbs, or maybe a combination of the both. But Martin Truex is going. This is the two cars are going to qualify on speed out of the open cars. This is the car that I look to be the second car to qualify on speed, just because it's Martin Truex, it's Toyota, and it's going to be a really well built, prepared car.
Absolutely, I agree. 56, correct?
Yeah,
I spaced out for a second.
Truex, it's the Truex family number.
Right. It's Truex. We've seen him. I know he just retired, but we've seen this guy do big things. Even with, back when he was 78, small team, went and won a championship. So 56, we know with him going to make it on speed. Yes, it's under Tricon's name, but as you said, we know 2311 or Joe Gibbs, or maybe both, is actually kind of doing this, which is okay, in my opinion. It's Truex. Big moment for him after retirement. I'm sad to see him that he retired, but it's good to see to know he'll still come to the track. He'll still come to a few races. He'll still be involved in the sport, especially with these big ones like the 500. So I'm excited. Yes, on speed, of course. So the 40 and 56 are the two open cars to definitely watch out for, because we know they will qualify on speed and they will run well. Yep. As long as they're not taken out.
Is on the car as well.
So once again,
and that's a big deal too.
Yes, former primary sponsor for Truex. Bass Pro's been with him forever, pretty much, ever since he stepped foot into a Cup car.
Well, Xfinity car. They were on his Xfinity car.
So yeah, long time sponsor. So yeah, super excited to see that. The paint scheme's actually pretty solid for it too. So I'm excited.
Well, all the Bass Pro Shop schemes this year knock it out of the park. I mean,
that very true.
Outside of the number placement, they all knock it out of the park.
Yep.
All right, so then we got the number 62, Anthony Alfredo for Beard Motorsports. Number 66, Chandler Smith for Garage 66, formerly MBM Motorsports. Number 78 for BJ McLeod for BJ McLeod Motorsports, or Fast. What was the what did their team used to be called?
That's a great question. I do not remember.
It was Fast something. That's all I remember. The number 84 of Jimmy Johnson for Legacy Motor Club. Number 91 of Helio Castroneves for Trackhouse. We've already talked about them. They're locked in regardless. I do not see them qualifying on speed, but I do see them racing their way in. I don't believe there's going to be 41 cars unless he gets in a wreck or something like that. I think Helio could race his way in, but there's a lot of competition.
There is. I will point out 78 BJ McLeod. We've seen him in the 500. There you go. Yep, that's right. We've seen him in the Daytona 500 multiple times. We've seen him up front. He's excellent. All the drivers love him and his racing style. Super respectful, a team player. I don't think he'll qualify on speed, but I do believe he'll easily race his way in with the experience he has, the knowledge he has, and just the way he drives that car. He's been in multiple 500s, and he's done really well on multiple 500s. So I would believe he's also a one to keep your eye on for the 500 and to get in.
Oh, for sure. And then rumored and potential entries is the number 50 of Team Amerivet. No driver has been mentioned. They are going to try to make the Clash. So it'll be interesting to see how their announcement's going to come. There's a rumor maybe 2311 entry for Corey Heim. And then Richard Childress Racing has been rumored to maybe have the number 33 in the Daytona 500. So that's our open cars for the Daytona 500. Lot to look forward to. I agree with you. I think the 40 and the 56 are going to be our qualify in on speed. And then I would say probably the 91 and man, I don't know, because like you said, BJ McLeod, I mean, he's a good candidate for qualifying for racing his way in. So those final two slots, I think, are going to be a really toss-up. I think it's going to come down to, barring any kind of wreck or anything, I think it's going to come down to a last lap, maybe last 100 feet of the duels to see who's going to get in, which is the way it should be. It's the way it used to be. I think it's the way it should be. I hate that it's down between going to be down between 4 to 6 cars. I wish it was we had 60 cars trying to qualify. I wish it would come down to where we've got 10 cars that have a chance of racing their way into the 500 in each qualifier, so 20 cars total. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be great to watch. I'm excited. Daytona 500 coming up. So any final thoughts, statements on the Daytona 500 entry list?
Nope. I'm excited to see who makes it, though. So that's all I got.
Yeah. Those last few laps of each of the duels is going to be very exciting to watch.
I agree.
So, all right. Well, we're going to take another break, and then we'll come back with our way too early preseason playoff picks. So we'll be back in just a few moments.
We're back from our other break. That tells you how much we got to talk about, taking 2 breaks during a podcast. Now we're talking about our Wezzy set, as Duke Ryder said, way too early preseason playoff predictions. We're going to start with, I believe we're only doing round of 16, round of 4, but we're going to start off round 16. You got something?
Just real quick. I just logged on to X, and Matt Weaver posted attending the NASCAR R&D and ruling briefing for the media corps that just started. So he says he will thread any notable takeaways and write some stories by the end of the day. So we could see some playoff changes by the end of the day. If so, SterlingRider will do a quick little synopsis at the end and then splice it into this to kind of just hit If there is any playoff changes. If not, we'll just wait till after Daytona to address them. Anyway,
Absolutely.
sorry to interrupt, but I just opened this up. I was like, oh, whoa, that's kind of a big deal. We need to mention at least.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of hope they make some changes, but I don't think they'll make some big ones like we want them to make. But um, like I said, we're gonna do playoffs predictions starting with round of 16. I'm going to go first. So to be honest, I don't have much difference of who made it, who from my predictions from who actually made it last season. So my prediction.
Oh, so you're gonna have Christopher Bell in it this time, like you didn't last year?
As I said, Christopher Bell proved me wrong. All right, I said that at the end of last season. Yes, he is in my playoffs this time. I boo-booed on that one very, very badly because he made it he almost made it to the round of 4. I would have looked really bad if he actually made it in. I would have give me the dunce cap.
You look
okay? I'll call it right now.
Idiot if it won.
Don't do that to me. So, yes, I have Christopher Bell. So I'll start off. Christopher Bell is in my lineup this year. I boo-booed real bad not putting him in there last year. So, round of 16, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, of course, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, one I hate to say, Joey Logano. Although I feel like Logano is going to get in on points. I don't think he'll get in on a win. I'm just going to throw that out there. I lost my train of thought. Chase Briscoe with the 19. I feel like he's going to get in there. I didn't actually write these out, and so I boo-booed on that. And
for the record, I did tell him to do that last night.
He did tell me to do it, and then I completely forgot, and I woke up like 15 minutes before, hey, let's record. Okay. So that is on me. Good thing I'm going first, though. So, Ross Chastain. How many am I at here? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that's 10. So Ross Chastain.
Yeah.
SVG. Shane Van Gisbergen, I believe, will as well. Noah Gragson. I think he has the potential to get in, so I'm calling that he makes it. So that's my 12th. Chris Buescher, someone who should have been in last year, in my opinion. So another driver. This one I'm really putting on a limb. I see him more at the bottom, not at like at 14th, like I'm about to say. Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece, I feel like he's going to do well. Maybe not at the beginning of the season, but I feel like he'll find his groove and get in there before the playoffs actually start. 15th, Bubba Wallace. We've seen him struggle the past few years. 23-11 is stepping up. Obviously, they got the whole charter and lawsuit thing going on with NASCAR, tag teaming with Front Row Motorsports on that. I think they've got a lot behind them, pushing them to, work hard. I feel like Bubba's going to squeeze his way in there. And then finally, I'm going to go with Ty Gibbs as my 16th driver. Ty made it in on points last season, but I feel like he's getting to where he's ready for that first win. So I'm going to say he gets in on a win this season. That is my round of 16.
Here's my shocker. Did you say Chase Elliott?
Yeah, I said Chase.
Okay. So I guess it was Denny that you didn't say.
I'm pretty sure I said Denny.
Because I kind of marked him off as you did, and I have you listed 17.
Oh, did I? Whoops.
Yeah.
All right, who's my extra then?
I
Well,
have Noah Gregson and Ryan Priest would be your 17th. One of those two.
okay. Well, here I'll go through it real quick again.
All right.
Larson. So Larson, Bell, Reddick, Byron, Blaney, Hamlin, Elliott, Keselowski, Logano, Gregson, Chastain, SVG, Briscoe, Gibbs. I got room for two more, don't I?
One more.
Okay. Then I'm gonna go with Bubba.
Bubba. Okay. So you go with Bubba over Priest?
I would say Bubba over Priest.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Mine pretty much lines up with that. I just had these in numerical order until I got to the bottom three. Um, so this just car number order. Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, unfortunately, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Ty Gibbs. Those were my definites. I'm pretty sure. Now we've mentioned several that could be upsets that could knock any of these guys out, because just to say Ty Gibbs doesn't get a win, but Justin Haley does.
Yep.
And some of these other drivers, and we get a lot of drivers get wins that we didn't necessarily think. They could knock some of these lower guys out, like Ty Gibbs that hasn't won yet. So he's not a proven winner because he hasn't won yet.
Exactly.
Joey Logano, he was 15th in points going in. If it wasn't for his win, he would have never made the playoffs. Same thing for Ross Chastain. He if it hadn't been for his win, he might not have made the playoffs. So anyway, and then I finish it up. I have SVG as well. I think there's too many road courses for him not to win a race before the playoffs. I have Bubba Wallace as well. I think he really struggled last year. I believe with Tyler Reddick and how well Tyler rode, I think some of that is going to be transferred to the 23 car this year. They may struggle with Riley getting him up to speed, but I think Bubba's going to be a lot better this year than he was last year. He's going to point. If we have these winners that we're talking about, he will not make it because I do not see him winning. I see him pointing. Maybe winning at Talladega or something like that. I don't see him winning like a mile and a half or short short track race. But
right.
And then I had Michael McDowell, and I know he was one that we mentioned, but it's a toss up for me with Michael McDowell. It could be Michael McDowell, Justin Haley, Noah Gregson, Josh Berry. That 15th and 16th spot in mine is really a toss up. As far as I'm concerned, really, I would say anywhere from 12th to 16th. Those 5 spots are up for grabs. But those are the 16 that I have. Again, we could really be shocked. There's 10 that we know for sure.
Yeah.
That are going to make the playoffs regardless. There's 2 that are iffy, as far as whether they'll point their way in or whether they'll win.
Right.
Because it could go either way. And then there's 4 to 5 that could be some upsets. It could be guys that we expect. They could be some upsets. You notice I left Alex Bowman out of my playoff lineup. I left Daniel Suarez out of my playoff lineup. Those were drivers. Austin Cindric out of my playoff. Those were drivers, had it not been for race wins last year, would not have made the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So,
especially with the way everything is now, we've seen in the past with this playoff, if they don't change this playoff setting, as you just said a few moments ago, if they don't change this, we've seen in the past where we've come down to over 16 different winners. We've had more than 16 winners. Then it comes down to the points. Then there's a lot more thrown into it. So who knows what we could see this season with the drivers in the lineups, because it's very, very possible to see over 16 different winners this season for sure.
Yeah, and something on this line that I forgot to mention that Matt Weaver brought up in his thread here is they're running a dual compound like they did at a couple races last year at the Phoenix Spring Race. They're running the softer tire and then the regular tire to determine which tire will be used in the championship race. They'll only have one tire at the championship race. Will it be the softer? Will it be the harder compound? All depends on how well both of them run at the Phoenix race. So that's important. I forgot to mention that, but yeah, that's a big deal.
It is indeed.
So I'm probably going to interject here as I follow along with Matt's thread as to what we come across, because he's doing this rules thing, and it's some of the stuff's gonna be kind of a big deal that we're gonna be talking about all season long. Obviously, I think we'll probably wrap up before they do the playoff stuff, which sucks, but that's how it goes. All right,
okay.
So looking at that, who's going to be who? We won't go with the round of 8, but we'll go with who won't, out of your 16 drivers, who won't make the round of 8.
Oh boy, I really need to learn to write stuff down. Who won't make it? I hate to say it. Briscoe, Gibbs, Gregson, Keselowski.
Wow, so those are your 4 that aren't going to make it?
Those are my 4 that. Well, you said round of 8.
Round of 12. Round of 12.
Oh, round of. Okay, let me take Keselowski. Let he go back in.
Okay.
And I can't say SVG because you got Watkins Glen. I feel like you do really well.
Not
SVG.
This year. Not this year.
Oh, that they rechanged it, didn't they? That's right.
Yeah, you forgot, didn't you?
I did. This
year, let me pull up my schedule again. This year, the round of 12 or the round of 16 is Darlington, Worldwide Technology, and Bristol. Now, if he makes the round of 12, I could see him making the round of 8 because the Charlotte Roval is in the round of 12. But
right.
Yeah, so Darlington Worldwide, which is Gateway, and Bristol is your first 3 races.
Okay, then I would keep what I got: Gibbs, Briscoe, Gregson, and then I'm gonna say SVG. That one I would say is a toss up though. He could point his way into the next round, but I feel like SVG is going to struggle with this being his first full-time Cup season.
Yep.
I believe he'll absolutely make the playoffs. I don't think he's going to go deep, being his rookie year in the in Cup.
Yep, I'm gonna agree with you. I've got SVG, Bubba Wallace, Michael McDowell, and Ty Gibbs not making the round of 12. And again, I know those are the bottom 4 drivers that I have, but that could be any drivers in the bottom 4. I don't see any of them with this particular series of tracks. I don't see any of those drivers advancing.
Yeah.
Anybody that's in the round of 4, I don't see advance, or at the bottom 4 in the round of 16. I don't see advancing because I think they're barely going to squeak in.
Right.
There might be one or two surprises, but I don't see it happening this year.
The only surprise I would see is if one of those bottom four win Atlanta because of the way Atlanta is set up. That would.
Well, yeah, but it's Darlington, Darlington Gateway, and Bristol. Atlanta's not in it this year.
Oh.
So,
you said Darlington. Excuse me.
Yeah. You've got three very difficult tracks that none of the four drivers that I mentioned, or really even the four that you mentioned, except for Chase Briscoe winning at Darlington last year.
Yep.
None of these four drivers, those are not their tracks.
Right. So yeah, I would say unless they're in the right place at the right time, like Briscoe was at Darlington last season, I would say that's how it's gonna go. So,
all right, round of 8. Who is not making the round of 8?
Who
out of
doesn't
your 12?
make round of 8 out of 12? Okay. Wallace. This is when it starts getting hard.
It does start getting tougher.
Logano. I hate to say this one, Keselowski. And then, who would I say? I'm trying to remember who I got left.
You got Reddick, Byron, Bell, Busher.
Okay. I would say Busher then. I feel like Busher for sure. We've seen him in the round of 12 before, but he's not. I don't think he's quite ready for that round of 8.
Yeah, that's New Hampshire, Kansas, and the Charlotte Roval. None of which is, well, he runs okay at Kansas, but yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So those would be my 4. Keselowski being the sad one, but Wallace, Busher, Keselowski, and then I said Logano, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
yep.
I got the same ones out. I've got Brad out. I've got Chris Busher out. This is the round that I took Chase Briscoe out. I think he makes the round of 12. I took him out going in the round of 8. And then I took Logano out as well. So I don't think Logano's going to perform this year.
I would
he got
agree.
lucky last year. I have him making the round of 12 just because of the drivers that I have in the round of 16. But if he's lucky enough to make the round of 12, he will not make the round of 8.
I would agree. Yep.
All right. So the round of 8 is this year. It's different. It's Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville. Basically they took Talladega and moved it back to its original date.
Yep.
To where it was back when it was the 10 race format. Yep. All right. So who are your final 4?
This is the easy one. All right. William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin.
Wow. Yours is way different than mine.
What? Our only driver is probably Byron. That's the same, isn't it?
Yep.
So those are my 4.
So why? Explain your reasoning for them.
Byron, as we've mentioned earlier, fire off to the season, but they figured it out. They're going to work towards being on fire towards the beginning of the playoffs, going into playoffs. Byron's going to lead that. Reddick has something to prove. He was there at the end, didn't make it. He worked his butt off to get to that championship 4 because he flipped at Vegas last season and then went and won Homestead. He wants to continue that.
In an awesome pass, by the way.
Absolutely.
Awesome
Reddick is out for, I would say he's hungry for it. He's going to get in. Kyle Larson. Larson should have been in the Final Four, but with how the Coke 600 and Indy 500 went last season, he did not exactly make it because of those reasons. But
yeah,
Larson,
he missed about like 4 points.
Exactly.
If he would have had,
I think it was
4 positions.
We said 11th or better in the 600, he would have been Final Four. So Larson, to me, he's just a regular. He's someone that's got the talent. He's constantly there in the end when he's not wrecked out. Because we've seen him get wrecked out in a few occasional races. It's rare, but it happens. But he's a regular in my opinion. Hamlin, he's like Reddick. He's hungry for it. He has been looking for this championship for as long as he's been racing. He's been so close and yet so far at the same time. I feel like he's going out with his time. I feel like is running short as a driver, not as an owner, but as a driver. I feel like he's going to be very aggressive and work his way to that championship 4. Those are my reasons why.
I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you mine. William Byron, obvious reasons. We talked about that. Ryan Blaney, just because of what he's done the past 2 years. I don't think you could count him out. I've got Chase Elliott. I think Chase really has a good year this year. I think Chase Elliott is going to have a Kyle Larson year this year. I think they're going to swap. I think William is going to be the best driver at Hendrick this year. Chase Elliott is going to be the second best driver, and I can see Larson being the third. That's what I'm seeing. And then I've got Tyler Reddick, just because of basically all the things you talked about with Tyler. He's hungry. He wants it. I will disagree with you on Denny. I think Denny, his next couple years in the Cup Series are going to be like Kevin Harvick's last couple years in the Cup Series, like Jimmy Johnson's last couple of years in the Cup Series. I think I'm starting to really like Denny as an owner. I really, really like Denny as an owner. Not so much as a driver, just because it's Toyota, it's Denny. But we go back and we look at the last couple of years of Jimmy Johnson's career, the last couple of years of Harvick's career. Jimmy Johnson lost a major sponsor. Denny Hamlin lost a major sponsor. Kevin Harvick lost not a super major sponsor, but Jimmy John's, one of his longtime sponsors, got out of the sport. Didn't do so well those last couple of years of their career. I think that's where Denny is at. I think he has peaked. I think he's on the downhill slide of his career. And then who is your fourth? You had Byron,
Reddick, Larson.
Okay, Larson. And like I said, I think Larson and Chase are going to swap years this year. I think that Chase Elliott could be a 6-win season this year. Byron was 2 years ago, 6 races. Let's see, Larson won 5, or did he win 6 this year?
I think
either which way.
Yeah.
And then Chase won the one race. I think Chase has really I think this is his year to be. I still say he's going to be the second best driver at Hendrick, because I really think that Byron and his team, I think they have something to prove this year. And William is my championship pick because he has something to prove. This will be his 3rd straight year, I believe, in the Final Four. I believe he's lost 2. He's lost 2 the hard way. 2 years ago, they ran like crap at Phoenix.
Absolutely.
Last year, they ran really, really good, but not good enough. I think this year they put it all together. But yeah, that's how I feel about my four. I told you William is my championship pick. Who's your championship pick?
This is the tough one for me. I have it down to two drivers for obvious reasons. Byron, of course, as you just mentioned, for reasons, multiple good reasons that it's his moment. But I also have Reddick as a candidate because of just how close he's come from last year and from the confidence and aggression I feel like he's going to bring this season for sure. However, I am going to stick with Byron. I would agree they're going to put it all together this season and come out at the top. They've been short. They were short last season. They ran like crap the season before at Phoenix. I feel like they're going to put it together, especially with the try to be warm in the spring and then start, building up that heat and momentum through the, summer into late summer and the fall going into the playoffs. I feel like they're going to keep with that momentum through the playoffs and make it all the way to the top. So I'm going to stick with Byron. Now, if y'all watch last year's preseason preview, we said Byron. Okay, we're going to stick with it, as you can see. We still think he's going to get it this year. He's going to get it this year. I'm going to just say it. This is his season. He had a little bit of a struggle last season, but we were still there in the end. I think they're going to put it together, as you said, and finish it off this season.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So we got some breaking news I need to share. Legacy Motor Club says Jimmie Johnson is now the majority owner as Murray Gallagher shifts to an ambassador role. Johnson has brought in investors Knighthead Capital Management as co-owners. That's a big deal. Jimmie Johnson is now owns a majority stake in a Cup Series team, and that's news from Jeff Gluck. That's a big deal.
That is big.
Also, Corey LaJoie will be driving. It will be the 01 for Rick Ware Racing. It's a full season change, at least this year. And Corey LaJoie is going to run a limited schedule starting with the 500.
Okay.
And then also talking about the damaged vehicle policy, again, following Matt Weaver's. That on Corey LaJoie came from Bob Pockrass. This is from Matt Weaver. The order of bench cars with flat tires or with damaged receiving towing in the case of a multi-car crash is up to the track crew discretion. Drivers only go to the inferior care center if cars are DNF. Veteran crew chief Jason Burdett has taken a job with NASCAR to oversee technical inspection for the Xfinity Series. Jason Burdett was a longtime Junior Motorsports crew member, crew chief. So just a couple pieces of tidbit news. I'm going to jump back to Matt Weaver's thing that he's got going on here, because wow, this is a lot going down here.
Oh my goodness.
Let's see, dual compound. I covered that. Jimmie Johnson will qualify for an open exemption provisional.
Alrighty then.
No limit on the number of drivers that they can. So there's right now a potential for 42 cars to be in the Daytona 500. Wow. NASCAR said it would have forced a conversation if he and Helio had requested it for the Daytona 500. Right now, no limit. Okay. Shorthand version is experience, success in motorsports, and market appeal. So it no longer has the NASCAR um, exemption, apparently, because before they were talking about only drivers outside of NASCAR would be available to get this um, exemption. But from what Matt just wrote, it's a pretty, Jimmy Johnson can even
Okay.
qualify for it. So yeah.
That's pretty
So
big.
anyway, this is an ongoing thread. I don't want to keep you guys any longer than we've already kept you because, man, I wish they would have started this an hour ago. We could have followed through on the whole daggum thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but anyway, we will, like I said, SterlingRider. If anything major comes out of this besides what we've already mentioned, he'll do a brief video at the end of this, so that we can discuss that. But yeah, there's a lot going on in the world of NASCAR. Had we known this was coming up, we either would have waited till later to start, or maybe even waited another day to run this down. But we're looking forward. We'll try to be a little bit more consistent this year. Not every race. Don't look for us after every race. It's not going to happen. After every 2, 3, maybe 4 races, depending on our schedules, we'll try to get together, do a podcast. They will be a little bit longer, but you don't have to watch them all at once. You don't have to listen to them all at once. You can do listen for a half hour here, come back later, listen for a half hour. And with my being old and trying to hydrate and all that, we'll probably have some breaks where we'll say, hey, we're going to break. That's a good time for you to pause and go on. Anyway, so I'll do our non-sponsor shout outs real quick that we've been doing.
Actually,
So want to point these people out. Okay, what you got?
hold on. Before we get into wrapping up with the non-sponsor shout-outs and sponsored shout-outs, let's touch bases on the console game. More announcements have been made with the iRacing console game coming out in fall 2025. We thought it was going to be winter. It is now fall. They've moved it up from their original prediction.
Sorry. Martin Truex also qualifies for this OEP. Retired NASCAR drivers, if they notify NASCAR within the 90-day window. We don't know if Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex did. It's most likely that they did, or this wouldn't be mentioned. So now we are up to a possible 43 car Daytona 500 field.
Man, 43 cars. That's an actual full grid like it used to be.
Right?
That would be sweet.
But yeah, and I hate to keep interrupting, but I'm getting this out as fast as Matt or some of the other guys that we follow is getting it out. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I thought that was a big deal.
That is a big deal. But anyways, as I was saying, iRacing console game, we've had some announcements. A trailer, their first trailer has dropped from their announcement trailer. They now have a trailer, first trailer out. The announcement is that 4 NASCAR series will be in the game for the My Career and for just regular play. You have, starting with, obviously, you have your NASCAR Cup Series. You have your NASCAR Xfinity Series. And then the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. We've talked about this between ourselves. Duke Ryder and I have talked about this before. We wanted them to add the ARCA Menard Series. Now iRacing has added the ARCA Menards as their 4th series, and for the start of your career, when you play the career mode. So the ARCA Menard series from NASCAR is now going to be a part of the console game. That is the announcement. I am excited that they're finally doing this. This is going to feel more like an actual career mode to NASCAR in a NASCAR game since we've had in quite a while, because a lot of the older games you started in truck or you started in some goofy makeshift, not that it wasn't fun, it was fun, some sort of goofy made up series like the Extreme Dirt and NASCAR Heat, And then before that, we really did have other series. We after
Well,
kind of
they had the Wheeling Modifieds in
yep.
for a few years too, which was really cool.
Yeah, back
I
when
wish
EA
they would
Sports
add
was doing
that
it.
and do all five series. Start us out in the Modifieds and let us work our way up.
That
That
would
would
be
be really,
awesome
really
as
cool.
well. I would love that as well. But iRacing is doing great things. I'm really excited for this game. When the game comes out, or when it comes out for pre-order, for sure, I will be pre-ordering it. Probably the most expensive package too, so more money down the drain. But hey, you're welcome, NASCAR. That's how much I like you. And as soon as game is released, be ready for some streaming and some gameplay on it because I am that excited for it.
Yeah,
It's going to be
yeah.
great. It's going to be huge.
I might even do some streaming on that myself. Okay, I need to clarify this. I misread this. NASCAR said only one driver will be eligible if there are multiple requests, and NASCAR will decide in advance who that driver will be for the OEP. So, in other words, Castro Nevis has it for the 500. There will be a maximum of 41 cars.
Okay.
Um, so I apologize for my misunderstanding, my misreading of that. That's why it's always good to follow different people, different reporters, because even though they're all in the same room, some of them hear stuff that others, they're trying to get the information out as fast as possible, might miss. So let's see. Who posted that? Jenna, I got that information from Jenna Fryer. So um yeah, there's so much going on right now with this meeting at NASCAR that it's really hard to keep up. There's a lot of reporters that I follow. So anyway, we will keep you informed on anything that we come across over the next few hours as he edits it and gets this ready. Anything updates that I think are important or that he thinks are important, we will get out to you. But yeah, back on the game. I'm looking forward to that. That is I'm really, 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 really looking forward to that. And then also, I do finally have the equipment to be able to start to do our diecast reviews. I believe that's up. Yeah, that's upside down.
No, you had it
uh,
right. You had it
so
right. Now it's upside
yeah,
down.
I sure did. Yeah, it's upside down. Yeah, that's right. So start watching out for our diecast reviews. I'm going to start with last year's Daytona 500 winner, and I do have several race wins for this year. I do have some that we're still waiting on, but the race wins that I have, when we get to that particular race in 2025, I will do a review for that particular car from the 2024 win. So if I have it, like I said, I'm still waiting for some 2024 wins to come in because we got the autographed and they're not here yet. So anyway, I'm ready for that. I keep updating X to see what's coming out. Nothing new since the last update. So on the NASCAR front, there's a lot of news out here, depending on what you follow as far as political arena, weather arena. I mean, there's some weather news coming out, all kinds of stuff. And NASCAR news today seems to be a NASCAR heavy day. So anyway, that's all we've got. You want me to go on with the non-sponsor
Go
sponsor shout
ahead.
out? All right, so we've got the Scene Vault podcast with Rick Houston and Steve Wade. If you really like the history of the sport, that's a good podcast to listen to. Door Bumper Clear has a new lineup this year. TJ Majors has moved over to the Dale Jr. download. Brett Griffin has stepped into another thing in life. So we have got Freddie Kraft is sticking around. He's brought Tommy Baldwin, a former NASCAR owner, current modified owner, over. They're going to have guest spotters all season long. So check out Door Bumper Clear. The Dale Jr. download with Dale Jr. and now TJ Majors is going to be over there with Dale Jr. Actions Detrimental with Denny Hamlin. If you really want to know, because Denny does not hold back on the lawsuit stuff. Now he only releases what he's allowed to release because, with it still being an active case, there's some things that they cannot talk about, but he's
Right.
pretty honest and pretty straightforward as to what's going on. So listen to Actions Detrimental, the Teardown with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi. I love listening to those guys, and sometimes I agree 100% with Jordan. Sometimes I agree with 100% with Jeff. Sometimes I'm torn between the two of them. But they're very straightforward, very honest. They give their opinions. Happy Hour with Kevin Harvick. I was hoping they'd change that lineup this year. I like Mamba Smith. Not a big fan of Caitlin Vinci, but they're not changing. They got the same lineup. So, but it's Kevin Harvick. So go listen to Happy Hour Kevin Harvick. Go listen to Stacking Pennies with Corey LaJoie. That's where a lot of his announcements came from today. It's also been announced that he's going to be doing some pre-race stuff for, I believe it's the Amazon TNT portion of the schedule. I can't remember exactly. Bob Pockrass on X, I've mentioned him already. Matt Weaver, I've mentioned him. Jayski, a lot of the information we read today on the lineups and race break race formats and stuff like that came from Jayski. So follow them on X. Check out jayski.com. Couch Racer on X, they're still active. They've got, hopefully they're going to bring in some new merch this year. Brock Beard on X and on YouTube. Go and watch his 500 days thing he's doing. You can also go watch his Rise of the Field Fillers series, but the 500 days it's covering the forgotten storylines of the 2021 or 2001 NASCAR season, and a lot of these storylines were forgotten, overlooked because of the passing of Dale Sr. at the beginning of the year. So go and watch his 500 days thing. And then, of course, our favorite, Circle B Diecast. Get all your non-Hendrick Motorsports exclusive diecasts from Circle B Diecast. If you like the Elites, get the Elites from First Class Diecasts, which Circle B Diecast is responsible for their shipping. So if you like great shipping and great customer service, Circle B Diecast and firstclassdiecasts.com.
Absolutely. So non-sponsored shout outs, of course, they deserve shout outs where we get a lot of information and cool stuff from. Also on X, I'll leave both of our Twitter links in the description as well. So make sure to follow us. If you don't catch some of the other guys, we normally repost or re-X. Is it called re-X now? Or retweet? I don't know.
I think it's still retweet, but
so
yeah.
We retweet a lot of the news on our pages as well, especially the really big news. So check us out as well. Follow us along. We also announce when a new podcast episode is up, when we don't forget about that we just uploaded one. So now for our sponsored shout outs, partners to the channel. As you see on my sweatshirt, and I've been drinking the whole time throughout the podcast episode, Dubby Jitterless Energy Blend. For your energy drink needs, healthier. I know we were talking about Red Bull earlier, but I don't want to put bad things on Red Bull. But Dubby is super healthy, good for you, filled with a lot of vitamins, and still giving you the energy you need to go throughout the day. Use code SterlingRider for 20% off at checkout. I'm sorry to those who watch my stream. I've been saying 15% off. It's actually 20% off. So that is my bad. I messed that up. Also, as you see on my hat, Rankest Rope Ranchwear. 80s, 90s, Western style and rodeo style mixed together. Very nice, cool, small company that partners with me. So check them out. Silver Duke 01 for 15% off with them. And then, of course, you got Undrdog Athletix, UDX, athletic apparel that showcases your faith and belief in Jesus. Use code SterlingRider01 for 15% off with them. And I'm excited to announce a new partnership with a brand named Him Apparel. regular clothing apparel to also showcase your faith and belief in Jesus. Also, a lot of gym apparel. So if you like sweats for your gym apparel, check them out as well. And use code SterlingRider 15% off with them as well. Thank you to those guys for the new partnership. Thank you for the other partners that I've had since the channel pretty much started. And so, yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Just a couple notes that I've mentioned, that I've noticed. No backup cars allowed at Bowman Gray due to space. If they teams do need a backup car, they can take it from the shop to the R&D center on Sunday morning and then take it to the track. Also, if a driver is towed to the garage for repairs, they can get out of the car without being DNP'd out of the race, so that while they're working on the car, the driver can get out of the car. And other than that, man, that's I don't know. They're having a lot of discussion because there's not a whole lot of news coming out. But yeah, that's it. That wraps it up. We will see you guys. We'll probably do one after the Daytona 500, and then after that, it'll be every 2 to 3 to 4 races. Just because the Daytona 500 is such a big race. And it also depends on who wins it. If one of our favorite drivers win it, we're going to want to talk about it. If not, we're not going to be that excited to talk about it.
Well, either way, look out for that episode next. We'll go over the Clash, the duels, the 500, after the 500, of course. So that most likely is our next scheduled podcast episode. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for when I stream. So make sure you if you enjoyed the podcast, so we know. If you got questions, ask the questions down in the comments. We'll be happy to answer them, pertaining to NASCAR, to gaming, whatever questions you may have that the channel kind of focuses on. Even future reviews that Duke Ryder said he'll start doing with the diecast, now that they're finally starting to come in through the mail.
Yeah, and I have the equipment to do it with now too.
Yeah, yeah, that was another.
That was the big thing.
It was equipment. Yeah. So stay tuned for all that. Hit subscribe. It's free. Why not? Hit the notification bell so you know when the podcast episode is uploaded, when I'm streaming, when a diecast review is uploaded. So you have all those notifications so you know when it happens. And then, yeah, so that's all I got. So we will see you after the 500. All right. Well, guys, yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to say something. So, yeah.
Thank y'all for listening.
Of course. We appreciate it. Thank you for letting us take our breaks. Because, hey, good pause moments, go do what you need to do and come back later. So, yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode. So, with that being said, peace out. Right on. God bless.